We're going to start though with a look at the papers today, and that story that I referenced about the Donegal doctors and the surgical hub. It's great to see it on one of the front pages this morning. So the headline in the Irish Daily Mail: patients are left at risk over grubby Lowry deal on hospital. Clinicians brand sitting of surgical hub in Sligo over Donegal flawed and deeply damaging. A deal with the Lowry Independents to locate a surgical hub in Sligo is under scrutiny after clinicians branded it flawed and deeply damaging. Fianna Fáil TDs are calling on Micheál Martin to publish the details of any backroom deals in exchange for independents' support in government. The call comes after Junior Minister Marian Harkin confirmed that a new surgical hub for the North West will be located in her constituency of Sligo as a result of her lobbying efforts during programme for government talks, despite doctors calling for it to be situated in Donegal. The recommendation was met with sharp criticism from Donegal-based clinicians who labelled it flawed, unjustified and deeply damaging. A number of Fianna Fáil TDs have raged against the potential use of Sligo. Now that's where the story ends. It does say turn to page 6, but unfortunately there's no further details on that story in page 6. But it's good to see it on the front page, and we'll be speaking to one of those doctors who met with Minister Jennifer Carroll McNeill a little later. And those comments were made, I'm sure you heard on the show last week, whenever Greg was in conversation with Marian Harkin, and they have been met with such backlash, and rightly so, given the desperate need for the surgical hub here in Donegal. Looking now to the Irish Times: former swim coach Gibney arrested in Florida. Former Olympic swimming coach George Gibney has been arrested in the United States on foot of a Garda request to extradite him to Ireland to face charges over sexual abuse of multiple children. Gardaí have been investigating a number of fresh allegations that Gibney sexually abused children in his care as a swimming coach several decades ago. A request was made by the Garda to the US State Department to extradite Gibney. Gardaí are seeking to have Gibney brought back to Ireland to face more than 50 charges related to alleged historical child sex abuse connected to his time as a swimming coach. I'm not sure if anybody ever listened to, I think it maybe is a BBC podcast, where's George Gibney, and it's a great listen and gives the whole historical background. And they actually travelled to Orlando where George Gibney had been living, and they confront him and put these allegations to him, but he refuses to comment. But it's a great listen, and it gives the historical background of the case. Turning now to the Irish Sun, and lawyers for Nikita Hand accused Conor McGregor of perjury and demanded he apologise to her for claiming he had new evidence she was assaulted by her ex-partner on the night the MMA ace is alleged to have raped her. The fighter had detailed this claim in affidavits, but withdrew it as a ground of appeal yesterday because his legal team said it was unsustainable. McGregor, who was not in court, is appealing the High Court ruling last November that he assaulted Miss Hand, and the subsequent decision to award her nearly €250,000. McGregor had provided affidavits by Samantha O'Reilly and her partner Stephen Cummins, former neighbours of Miss Hand, when she lived in Drimnagh, to the Court of Appeal. The couple had claimed they witnessed Miss Hand's then partner Stephen Redmond assault her during an argument on the night of December the 9th and 10th, 2018, the night McGregor assaulted her, and that this assault was the probable source of injuries she has suffered. I know everyone has a right to defend their names, so we'll see how that plays out. That is back in court, and I'm sure it will continue now for the coming days. Looking now to the Irish Daily Mail. An appeal of a court decision to quash the A5 road upgrade is being explored, Minister for Infrastructure Liz Kimmins has said. The Belfast High Court last week disallowed an executive decision to proceed with the A5 redevelopment on the basis it breached Stormont's commitment to reach net zero carbon emissions by 2050. She said they are working through the possible grounds for appeal before the proposal is brought to the executive, but would not be making any knee-jerk decisions. The minister added that it is my intention that we will look at pursuing an appeal that will require executive agreement. It just raises so many questions that, that High Court challenge was successful, and was this not looked at beforehand that it would possibly exceed the carbon emissions? And also the question is, should it just get the go-ahead despite the carbon emissions? Can we pitch climate change against a human life? I know obviously climate change is very central to life going forward, but there's just been so many road deaths along that route, and should it just get the go ahead? Can they make cuts elsewhere? But then on the other hand, it would set a precedent if it does go ahead, that so many people could claim there's a risk of human life despite carbon emission targets not being reached, that it could go ahead. So there's so many factors feeding into that, but hopefully sense will prevail and there can be some resolution found, and that much needed piece of infrastructure does get the go ahead. The Irish Independent today: heat forces Eiffel Tower to shut while Barcelona records its hottest June ever. Barcelona recorded its hottest June in over a century. The summit of the Eiffel Tower in Paris was closed to visitors, and hundreds of French schools shut yesterday as Europe sizzled in its first major heatwave of the summer. Health warnings remained in effect in several European countries. The worst was felt in southern Europe, while punishing temperatures were forecast to reach 40 degrees Celsius in Paris and to stay unusually high in Belgium and the Netherlands. The abnormally hot weather is exposing millions of Europeans to high heat stress, with temperatures in June more typical of July and August, said Samantha Burgess of the European Centre for Medium Range Weather Forecasts. This June is likely to be among the 5 hottest on record, it said. Speaking of climate change, that is the result of it then, and there's people just cannot cope with the heat. Is this something that would put you off travelling to a certain country if you knew, like, these heat waves are becoming more and more common? If you knew that temperatures were going to be about 40 degrees, would that put you off holidaying somewhere? And I suppose the stress it puts on the body, and people have different health conditions, especially for the elderly, it is a struggle in the heat. But I absolutely love the heat, so I don't know if it would put me off. What would put me off if it was freezing? I just don't know if I could bring myself to travel anywhere that had sub-zero temperatures. In the Irish Daily Star, comedian and musician Garn announced he's made the difficult decision to cancel his gigs for the rest of the year. The Mayo man, who has been open about his previous mental health struggles, released a statement about the news on Instagram yesterday evening. Last month, the TikTok star said he would be taking a small social media break, but has now said he will likely be offline for a while longer. He wrote, "After a lot of thought, I'm very sad to have to make the difficult decision to reschedule all of my gigs for this year. It was not an easy decision to make. Many of you will be aware of some of the issues I've dealt with in the past, and unfortunately over the last few months I have been dealing with a lot of these issues again." I think it's great, although what Garn is obviously going through is very difficult, but I think it's great that he's using his platform and he's speaking out and saying more or less, I'm going through this, it's okay to take a break. And it shows that, social media isn't for everybody. I know so many people, we talk about the different platforms, like Instagram kind of shows you this life that everything is perfect. Then maybe TikTok shows you the reality of some people's lives more. And I suppose deciding yourself, Instagram is giving me anxiety. I'm not, it's kind of bringing me down, looking at other people's lives or other people, and apparently they're succeeding in life, or they have this perfect home and they have this perfect wardrobe and they look perfect. And that's very damaging for somebody who maybe lacks confidence. And I suppose Garn has such a platform, and seeing comments and people bombarding him, I'm sure, with messages all the time. Like, there's no downtime for him. So it's good to see him making that decision. Finally, for now, the Finn Valley Voice. There's a lovely tribute on the front page this morning. The communities of Ernie and Castlefin gathered for an all-night vigil at St Mary's Church, Castlefin, on Saturday, following the passing of a beloved Diocese of Derry priest. Father Oliver Crilly, PE of Ernie and Castlefin Parish and a former parish priest of Greenlock, died on Saturday, June the 28th in Letterkenny University Hospital at the age of 84. His Requiem Mass was celebrated on Tuesday the 1st of July at St Oliver Plunkett's Church in Clady, followed by his interment in St Mary's Church Cemetery, Labby. Just last week, Father Crilly celebrated the Diamond Jubilee of his priesthood, marking 60 years since his ordination, a milestone he commemorated from his hospital bed due to recent illness. Well, that's a look at the papers today. We'll be back just after this short break.
Clarins' big beauty gift is back at McElhinney's. Purchase 2 Clarins products, one to be a moisturiser or serum, to receive a free trio of Clarins Summer Travel Essentials. Call in store or shop Clarins online at mcelhinney's.com to get your free beauty gift while stocks last.
At Restex Beds, we are celebrating 50 incredible years in business. And we are introducing our brand new Glenveigh mattress, comfort that's as legendary as our half-century legacy. Experience 50 years of bedding excellence at Restex Beds, Mountaintop Letterkenny. Restex Beds, leave the rest to us.
The Chadwick Summer Sale is now on across 37 branches nationwide. Save €100 on the DeWalt 18-volt brushless combi drill, now an incredible €329. Save €160 on the Kiri Cool Touch Diverter shower, only €189. Pro Plus Classic Push Petrol Mower, now only €199. Plus loads more savings in doors and floors, paint, garden accessories, bathroom products and DIY. Visit your local branch or shop online at chadwicks.ie. Chadwicks.
Let's get it done!
Hi, Paddy here at Shane Conley Cars in Donegal Town. Are you looking to upgrade your car? With Shane Conley Cars, you'll find makes and models for every budget. Great finance options, and we also accept trade-ins. Check out shaneconleycars.com or call in to us at Shane Conley Cars from Lonaher Road, Donegal Town.
Ready to transform your smile? Discover the magic of Blue Poppy Dental in Letterkenny and Donegal Town. With implantologists, surgical and cosmetic dentists, orthodontists and an endodontist all under one roof, we've got all your dental needs covered. Starting your journey is easy. Call us on 074 91 20355 or book your appointment online anytime through our user-friendly patient portal at bluepoppydental.com. Blue Poppy Dental and Orthodontics, where smiles shine brighter.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is?
The time is now 17 minutes past 9. Last week, the government announced the main location of the 1916 Rising would be redeveloped in order to attract more people to O'Connell Street. If implemented, the GPO would continue to be used as a post office and museum, while commercial units would also be allowed to open there. There has been much backlash to these plans. I'm joined now by Intu representative in Donegal, Mary T Sweeney. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Michaela. Good morning, listeners.
So, Mary T, you're opposed to this proposal?
Oh, completely. Absolutely. It's a sad day that we're at this stage. First of all, they tried to get rid of our Irish history, and now they're going to attempt to get rid of an iconic building. When you think of the leaders of 1916 who took over the GPO on that fateful day, yet they held a vision for a free and a unified Ireland. They held that dearly at a cost of their lives. And to think that this government would even contemplate selling off, it seems that they have more interest in commercialism than republicanism anymore. And it must be stopped. It has to be stopped.
And do you think that their argument is it's a massive building right in the centre of Dublin that, you know, they have a museum there in existence already, that possibly it would encourage more tourists if there were commercial units there?
There's a huge problem in the whole committee in relation to Dublin City Council. From doing the research that I have done on it, Dublin City Council have a budget in excess of 1.4 billion, I think it is, every year. And Mr. Kent, the guy that was in charge of the marketing for the GPO, they applied to have banners put up to advertise, and they were refused permission. You know, there's an awful disconnect between the organisations in Dublin City. Michael Martin is calling for a band of people to be appointed to review a 10-year plan. He needs to get a 10-year plan for the Gardaí on the streets, because Mr. Kent has said that's clearly a security concern on the streets of Dublin, that visitors' numbers are dropping. And we need to address that's the elephant in the room. When you look, it's 25,000 square metres, the GPO. And when you look at a building half the size in the Titanic Quarter in Belfast, it's generating over 800,000 visitors a year. at a revenue of 5.9 billion profit, after tax profit. You know, how could this fantastic money that could be really invested to support the people of inner city Dublin that have no homes, to support the people, you know, to really appreciate their history and their culture and still have money in profit instead of selling out to commercial enterprises?
Now, I haven't been to the museum, so I'm unaware of how big it is, but do you believe that there is room for it to be expanded to take over possibly the whole building? Is that something that you would feel would be a better proposal?
Completely. And there's other aspects in relation to the back of the building that are more modern. They're not as the neoclassical that was designed at the front. There was extensions committed at the back in relation to parts of the building. And Michael Martin has suggested they should become office space. Yet a survey in 2024 in Dublin suggested that there was an abundance of office space in Dublin, over 18% unnecessary office space. So this has not been well thought out from the beginning, and it needs to be reconsidered. And the focus must be on remains a symbol of freedom for the Irish Republic, and the interactive facilities that are there in the small museum should be expanded. And with the buildings at the back, it would be fantastic to see it as a theatre or as art spaces. There's a huge reduction in art spaces. Artists can't afford to rent inner city spaces anymore, to live in the cities, and we need them there as social.
But then the government would probably argue that you're proposing a theatre at the back, that, you know, what's the difference between that and commercial units?
No, I'm saying that if you give the adequate funding to the GPO, they shouldn't have to come cap in hand begging for funding for the most iconic building on our island, and the most important in the foundation of the state. And the idea of the whole area of Moore Street should be incorporated in 2020, I think it was, the O'Reilly, the man that was shot, one of the leaders that was shot behind in Moore Street, you know, they allowed his home to be torn down. It shouldn't have been. It should have been retained as part of our history. No other European country would allow their history to be actually tattered like this and disregarded and disrespected. I think it's scandalous that they'd even think to do this, to make it for high-end retail. Like, who owns high-end retail? What revenue will go back into the Irish people from that? None. We need a building that we're proud of, with a content and a historical influence inside that's reflecting the history of our land, and give them the proper funding to get the marketing going, to get it advertised properly, to bring the tourists in, and to give facilities that we, like, if the Titanic Centre can generate over 800,000 visitors and 5.9 million profit, pre-tax profit, profit on that, then you have to see that it's not being marketed or supported properly to generate the revenue it could generate as it is.
And do you think that that is the issue? You mentioned there a couple of historical sites. That do you think there is an issue within Ireland that we're not looking at our history and not preserving it, not just in relation to the GPO, but right across the country?
Completely. Take it locally in Letterkenny, the fight I've had about the Old Town Bridge where the Flight of the Earls went over. You know, it's absolutely collapsing. And there's nobody. Is it because they're not from the area of the town that they realise and appreciate the history of it? The buildings that we've lost over the years, the sense of main streets in our villages across Donegal. You know, architects have to be sympathetic to retaining the street character, the facade of the street. And Ardara is a great example of that. If you go to Killarney, one of the reasons Killarney is the most successful tourist location in Ireland is because they've retained the shop fronts, the traditional, but Ireland, you know, emerged into as a commercial hub in the late 1800s. They've retained that. Why do people go to the Ulster American Folk Park? To see how we've evolved and how the history has changed and how the culture has changed over the years, to get that sense of history, of belonging, and, you know, of personal attachment to an area. And that's what we're losing. And we need to be very careful because we're losing it fast. You think of the traditional thatched cottages, the vernacular cottage. How many are left across Donegal?
And you mentioned,
scary to think that in England they can enjoy and appreciate, and they actually generate so much tourism from the revenue of their history. And we're having to fight to do it here. You think of the Irish martyrs, one up in Drumkeen, Bishop Conor O'Devany, hung, drawn and quartered in Dublin. and the flats in Dublin that have just been pulled down that were named after him. We've got to remain and retain that sense of history and culture and remember it and pass it on to the next generation.
And in terms of the Titanic Quarter that you mentioned there, it is a very significant building. It stands out. And when you think about yourself, when you go to Dublin, you do walk past the GPO and you don't think twice about the significance of it. But I suppose it's because, as you mentioned there, there's not enough significance being placed on the actual historical nature of it, and that does need to be done to highlight.
You're
for
breaking up a bit of me, Michaela, there.
Can you hear me there, Mary T? I'm not sure whether it's Mary T's Zoom.
You're back.
Yeah,
You're
you can
back.
hear me. I was just saying
I can hear you back.
that yourself, when you're in Dublin, you walk past the GPO and you don't look twice at it. You don't think about the historical significance of it compared to the Titanic Quarter. I know it's out in a location on its own in Belfast, but I suppose, that does relate to the point you're making, that there isn't enough significance being placed on it. There's so many people gathering there just willy-nilly as opposed to going there as a tourist attraction.
Well, for me, Michaela, I have to say that my children, it's a rite of passage. We stand and we touch the columns every time we're near Dublin, and we look at the bullet holes in the columns, and it's something that every child should reach up and feel that and know that people gave their lives for this country. A small band of men and women with a Donegal attachment, because I remember chatting to one of the Kelly men up in Dublin, and his aunt was a nurse in one of the Dublin hospitals, and she left her job that day to go down to help the men in the GPO. It's stirring. It's really stirring, and we cannot allow our history to be lost at any cost.
Yeah. So there's a protest planned for next week, Mary T. You're hoping that people will come out and vote.
Are organising a demonstration outside the GPO on Tuesday, the 8th of July at 7 p.m. And I would anybody that has any reason to get a free pass, get on the bus to Dublin if you can. If you have family there, please get people to go down there and support it if you can at all. And if you can't go there, then I have to say Patrick Bean's coming himself to Letterkenny or TD and to the Clanry Hotel this Monday, the 7th of July at 8 p.m. So he will be up himself in the Clanry Hotel on Monday night, the night before that, the 7th of July at 8 p.m. If you can come along, I would really appreciate it. We're going to talk about local issues and, again, issues like the infrastructure in Letterkenny and Donegal and our hospital and our surgery. These are issues. We're losing our whole sense of community, and, that we need to be respectful of the community we're representing.
Yeah.
And our politicians are letting us down badly. That's my opinion.
And there just feels, I think, all these issues locally recently, it just kind of creates more of an example of the disconnect between Donegal and Dublin here.
When you break down, nobody has ever yet actually given me a recent survey of the demographics of what's happening in our country at the moment. We need to look at this and learn from past examples of colonization and commercialization. We need to look to see what we want to hold dearly. And we look at our politicians to do that. And I asked them to reconsider your political parties. I was looking at the funding spent on elections there, and it was like 7 million spent in one election. Crazy figures. And we've got to say to ourselves, where are our focus points going to be as we go forward to leave as a legacy for the people coming behind us? And if we don't preserve and enshrine our historical buildings, or history, and our cultural ideas, or cultural identities, then we leave no legacy. We have to look behind to go forward, to know where we've come from, and we're losing that. We've got to be very careful. And in Aintu, we will be proposing we very much focus on keeping our history in our schools and keeping and teaching our history, and do the school trip to the GPO. Encourage the teachers listening, anybody that's at home today, how long is it since you took a class tour to the GPO in Dublin? Get those kids on that bus and take them to the GPO. It's worth going to, and we must make more effort to do that.
Yeah. Mary T, thank you so much for joining us this morning. That is Mary T Sweeney, Aintu representative in Donegal, and a protest has been organised for next Tuesday in relation to opposition to the plans for the GPO in Dublin. A few of your comments coming in on that topic. There are fears that the commercial units could be generic chain stores or phone shops and vape shops, detracting from the GPO's grandeur and the dignity of its historical context. Another listener says, what will be better, honour our history? We need a more expansive revolutionary museum, an artist hub or a cultural quarter focusing on Irish heritage. Another says, it will soon not matter about Irish history as nearly all foreigners are here now. Another says, the homeless people who are gathered outside the GPO and are fed there at certain times of the day must affect tourists entering the building. I remember avoiding them when I was up there. And the GPO is a large building with significant internal space, including courtyards and multiple stories of offices. Much of this space is currently underutilised or in need of modernisation. Commercial units could make efficient use of this valuable real estate. If you've an opinion on this, get in touch on 086 60 25,000 or you can give us a call on 91 25,000. And we'll be back with more just after this short break.
This week only, get a free upgrade to Loganair's Fly Flex Fare. Enjoy a larger 23 kilo hold luggage allowance, increased change flexibility and collect more Avios, all at no extra cost. T's and C's and exclusions apply. Book by 9th July, travel from 1st August. Booking changes may incur additional fees. Book today at loganair.co.uk.
If your go-to trade brand is DeWalt, get to Screwfix. Get the job done with flash deals and power tools, from combi twin kits to SDS drills until 13th of July. And get kitted out with exclusive to Screwfix DeWalt workwear. Power up with DeWalt at Screwfix. Shop now at screwfix.ie or in over 35 stores.
Indulge yourself with friends or a loved one at the Spa at Orchids at the Holyrood Hotel in Bundoran. A midweek or weekend spa break is the perfect way to escape from life for a while. Take a leisurely walk along the Atlantic coast. Enjoy a dip in our private pool, a plunge in our Canadian hot tub, and treatments of your choice before dining in one of the Holyrood Hotel's acclaimed restaurants. The Spa at Orchids. Book now at holyroodhotel.com.
Is your little one starting big school this September? At Dunnes Stores, we've got you covered for those memorable milestones. From waving goodbye at the gate to snapping that first proud photo in their new uniform. Feel confident as they take their next big step with quality schoolwear. Pick up a 3-pack of playproof polos from €5. Pair these with Easy Care joggers also from €5, plus a comfy sweatshirt from €3.75. Shop back to school in store and online now. Dunnes Stores, always better value. Terms and conditions apply.
Milford Tiles, Milford Retail Park. Tiles, bathware and wood flooring. The best quality and value in the Northwest. Fully stocked and ready to go. Fitters and delivery available. 10% off for Mica affected customers. Don't forget to ask about our 5-day bathroom fit out. Call Milford Tiles on 083 091 0707.
Donegal. Thinking of cutting your energy bills or upgrading your home? DLDC and Mount Lucas are bringing the Retrofit Roadshow to you. Join us in Dunlow July 14th to 18th and Letterkenny July 21st to 25th. Free sessions for homeowners. Learn how to boost your BER, upgrade your insulation and access SEAI grants. 1-day certified training for tradespeople. Future-proof your skills in NZEB retrofitting. Places are limited. Book now at dldc.org or call 074 9127 056. DLDC, bringing energy expertise to your doorstep.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
Now, welcome back to the 9 till noon show. Over the last few days, a number of people camped in the Gidor area on a beach, and there was a grim scene left in their wake. I'm joined now by Councillor Miguel Asb. Good morning to you.
Morning, Mike.
So, Councillor, what did you discover after this? What appears to be a group of people camped in the area?
Yeah, this is really unfortunate, and look, this has been happening nearly most summers now over this last good number of years, especially since COVID. I was informed by the public, by a number of people actually, to go down to Gidor, down to Margalhan and down to Bunaghley, down in Carrick or Port Arthur. And I went down and I met members of the public down there where they showed me where people had come, a family actually had come and stayed for a night or two. And instead of taking all the rubbish with them, they left all the rubbish behind them. They were lighting campfires up against the rocks, which scorches the rocks and makes them black. They were doing their toilet, as I suppose everybody needs to, but doing it and leaving it there for the whole world to see, quite disgusting. And what's really
That in
angered,
itself is so unacceptable. It's never acceptable in any scenario.
absolutely, considering that we as a council provide a toilet within 2 minutes walk from where the campsite was. And people need to bear in mind here is that this land is privately owned land. This land belongs to somebody. I couldn't go anywhere, and nor should it be expected that you just land and start camping and that you just disrespect the whole place and you leave all your rubbish behind. There's bags of rubbish there now. That's now going to be left to the council to come along to pick it up. Very unfortunate, very disrespectful, and one of the most beautiful scenic places when you're sitting there looking out at the Shutter and the Shmane, Umpuin, Gola. It's just an absolute gorgeous area, and an area that the community invests massively into and keeping it clean. And as we all know, it's a special area of conservation. And the community, like I says, we use that area there to walk. We have done for generations. I myself would walk it on a very regular basis, and it's not acceptable. It's not acceptable, but people can come along and they think that they camp there overnight, leave their rubbish without even asking permission. Sometimes we've seen in the past people coming with scramblers, wrecking up the dunes, and that has an environmental impact. And it just beggars belief that it's. I was saying to Caroline there earlier on that it's only a couple of years ago that once landed there with a very small caravan they towed in the back of their car, and they stayed for a week or two, and then instead of taking the cheap camper van or the caravan they had with them, they just left it there and burnt it.
Crazy. And
Yeah.
I know we talk about, CCTV cameras being put in place, which for GDPR reasons, won't work everywhere. But do you think, there's such an increase in this, and this has been going on for quite a number of years, that, a warden patrolling beaches would be feasible or would be warranted?
Well, I certainly I wouldn't agree with CCTV like to be put on our beaches. I think beaches and places like that there should be private, and people should be able to roam freely without the thought of anybody monitoring them. I do believe, and we are having discussions, but yet again, they're only discussions, unfortunately, around bylaws, which we do need to engage with the local community, have a big public consultation process, and having a conversation around bylaws. Look, this isn't a one-off thing. This is happening all over the coastal communities. Again, down in Mahargallan, there was a big fire, cans, broken bottles left overnight, and instead of cleaning up and taking your stuff away, and I believe sometimes it's not all people who are coming into our community. There's an element of locals as well. But I have to stress very, very, very clearly, this is an extreme small minority. Mm-hmm. Most people that come to our community are very respectful of the community. They come to the community because of its outstanding beauty, our language, our culture, who we are as people, and it's just very sad that a handful of people and a family and would come along and just think that they can just shit everywhere and dump their crap everywhere and expect somebody else to pick it up.
But it's that local then the next morning discovering that, it's the total disgust and the disrespect for the local environment and for the locals who use that area.
Yeah, absolutely. Like there was at the time when this happened, it wasn't like they got up at 6 o'clock in the morning and buggered off. They'd done it blatantly in the middle of the morning, mm-hmm. and other people watching them, and just didn't care. But there's a broader discussion that is being ongoing. But again, it's only a discussion, and there has to be kind of more bite to what we're at here. We've seen a huge increase of camper vans coming into our area. And like I says, 99.9% of the people who come to our area with camper vans or camping are highly respectful of the area that they come into. But we've been seeing a massive footfall, and probably again since the staycations, people have started discovering how beautiful our coastal communities are and other parts of our county, and they've been kind of tending to come more often than maybe they would have. But the idea that you can come along and just park where you want, I couldn't do it in Ballyclea, I couldn't do it in Conde Corky, Galliff, Tibraderin or Derra or Belfast. So I can't understand why people think they can just do it here. So I'll give you an example where as a local community, there's a place where local camper vans, and they have been for quite a very long time, and I find it quite acceptable, go down past the airport and they camp there and they swim there with their children, and for me that's pretty fine, and my understanding they have landowners' permission. So maybe somebody lives up in Anniger or Mulladoo or Crawley or somewhere, and they go down there for a couple of nights, and that's fine. Like that, I wish I had a camper van myself. But there's another part of that peninsula down in Bradge, right across from the airport, where people are parking camper vans, parking overnight, and this has only started really happening this last couple of years, and that area there is really important to us. Why it's really important to us? Because on that northern side of the runway, we've seen over this last number of years, and there's been fantastic work done by the airport there to try to stop the tides coming right onto the runway, and we've seen that. We've seen where tides have come right into the runway, and my father-in-law, may his God be good to him, had spoke to me many a time when he was young how that whole Carrickenya, Bradge and Puncha was an island when the tide came in. Now I remember on the Blue Flag side there was a pinch point there that broke through very strongly, and we had huge concerns around that high storms and very aggressive storms could break them dunes, and we put a measure there. What the local community, what local schools and the airport again being very proactive on this, along with Corleone and Natasha, we were able to prevent that, and we were able to rebuild the marron grass, pull it, replant it and rebuild it, and it was a very successful project. Unfortunately, Maharoti wasn't so successful for us, and that's another project that has to be seriously looked at. But what we're finding is that the camper vans are coming into the area, and you could have 10, 20, 30 of them parked there at night. That is damaging the ecosystem there, and we need to try to stop people parking there overnight. Clearly, speaking to and engaging with the airport there, they don't want, obviously, and they won't be stopping locals who have walked that strand for years and years from continuing to walk there, and children kicking football or whatever. But camper vans are having an impact on it, and that's the sad reality.
Just to interrupt you there, Councillor, 2 seconds. I'm joined by Brian on the line. Good morning, Brian.
Good morning.
So, Brian, what is your view in relation to the dumping of waste on beaches?
No, I think it's terrible. It's ridiculous. Like I'm a member of the Irish Irish Camping and Caravan Club, and we have 5 branches throughout Ireland. But no, anybody coming in and taking, if they can carry stuff from shops into an area, surely they can put it back in the bags they carried it in and take it back out with them again. You know, it's not hard. Like our ethos in our club is to leave a place as clean as you got it, or cleaner.
And Brian, do you believe that there are enough facilities within Donegal as it relates to camper vans?
Listen, the Wild Atlantic Way has been promoted, and the government here want to have it as one of the top 5 driving routes in the world within the next 5 years. But they have to supply facilities for the people that they're attracting into the place. Like, take it for example, Dunfanaghy would be one of the busiest places in Donegal, and Donegal Town is another that for camper vans. But there are no facilities for them. But yet a few mile over the road in Falcara, which wouldn't be that busy with camper vans. There's a unit where people in camper vans can empty their toilets and everything.
Yeah.
And it's ridiculous in the likes of Dunfanaghy that people can't, especially when there's a public toilet there, because a unit can be put onto the side of a public toilet very easily to be able to empty toilets. And and there's no doubt about it. You can guarantee that if people are there for 4 or 5 days at a time, that they're going to empty their toilet somewhere. Some people will go into the public toilets and do it. Some people will go in the middle of the night and they'll just empty it out over the side of the pier, which is not acceptable,
So do you think that this lack of facilities is leading to this then, that if there were more facilities, or there's still always going to be that minority of people who disregard rubbish and have no disrespect, or that disrespect the local environment?
No, as Michael said, there are toilets available down in the likes of Marrigallen, and people just have to walk, to walk a short distance to get to them, but they're not doing that. It's unacceptable what people are doing, that people are going behind rocks and doing what they do, and then there's toilet paper flying everywhere, and they're leaving their feces and all behind them. It is ridiculous. But the government have to be proactive and supply facilities as well. And a facility, especially for camper vans, for emptying toilet, it's not very big. It's not much bigger than a bucket with a lid on it, and it just goes into a pipe. You just lift the lid, empty the toilet cassette for a camper van, and usually there's a little pedal to push to flush it.
And how does Donegal, Brian, compare to other parts of the country?
Donegal is good compared to other parts of the country. And Donegal is very, but some parts of the country are not very good, and there's stuff that they don't accept. They don't accept their bylaws. Like for instance, Galway is nearly impossible to park in even during the day because they have bylaws in it, so you can't just pull into Galway and go and visit the city. You have to park well outside the city and get a bus in or something.
Well, Brian, thanks.
But Donegal is generally very, very good.
Yeah, but we just need more facilities.
Yeah.
And in terms of just, the disposal of rubbish, is it normal sized litter bins, or are there industrial sized litter bins available?
Well, Ireland is different to what England is or France or something like that, because our rubbish facilities are private. So there aren't as many rubbish bins as there would be in other parts of the world.
Yeah.
But if you take anybody in a motorhome, there's usually a fairly big boot in them. It's not hard to take it home. Hard to take your stuff home with you. And like for anyone touring Donegal, if you're touring the Wild Atlantic Way, there are 5 of the public service yards, the recycling yards, are within a kilometre off the Wild Atlantic Way, and it's not hard to look them up. And say the likes of Dunlow is just up around the corner from the Wild Atlantic Way. It's not hard to put your stuff in a bag and go in there, and it's only €4 to get rid of a bag.
Yeah, so there's
a big bag
means and ways, definitely around it.
Yeah, and anyone travelling Donegal, like you're going to be passing one of those public service yards once every 2 or 3 days if you're travelling Donegal, right? So it's not hard to get rid of your rubbish properly.
Yeah, totally unacceptable. Brian, thank you so much for that input. County Miguel Asb, you wanted to come in there on that?
Yeah, just intim go home and get to Brian. I fully agree with Brian. Myself and Brian would have conversations around this on a very, very regular basis, and his input and his views are hugely important in this discussion. Massively important in this discussion, as is the campervan family, our community. But we commissioned a report a number of years ago, and I think it'd be worthwhile asking the council to come on, maybe the likes of Gary Martin and that there, to talk that report through and listen to what Brian was saying there. I think it's really important. So if you take the Glanties Municipal District area, and if you take the toilet part of it, where Moharoti, we have a place where that people can dispose of. Out in the Mohara Hugh Jared in the Mahari Centre there, who do fantastic work out there. And if anybody's ever out that way, Stranbar, definitely drop in and say hello to them there. But what I was saying is we don't have enough facilities or nowhere near it. So, for example, if you're camping in the Gaeltacht where we are, and if you want to use the public toilet, say down that we have down at the airport, we don't even have staff put in place to clean them. And if you're in any of our islands, and we're working towards public toilets in our islands, but again, we're left with expecting the public to clean up somebody else's mess. And that's not acceptable. And I think what we've done is there was a massive big push. There was a massive big push to attract camper vans and people into West Donegal and to other coastal communities, but not putting the infrastructure in. And that's not acceptable. So in my own village in Annagra here, if there was a camper van, if there was a service put in place in the public car park there, we noticed that camper vans do park there at night this last year or two, that, you know, and have a plug-in, a few pound to charge. That has a footfall that you can go into Duffy's or into Sharky's or Cashinor or Dannymoney's or anywhere there.
Yeah, it's a benefit
and
to the local economy.
Or spend a few pound in their local shop, the cooperative there. But we also need to bear in mind that there are businesses out there like Sleepy Hollows and down in Gweedore and other places that are trying to make a living out of this here. And people coming into the area, I think they have to look at what's available here and to be respectful. But the big thing here for me...
But that report, sorry, just to go back to that camper van report, that was done quite a few years ago now, you know.
It was.
Surely we would need another, you know, report carried out on this, because as you mentioned earlier, the amount of people that now travel to Donegal, and we see the influencers posting about Donegal, that there's more and more people coming to the county, that we need to take all that into consideration now.
Yeah, we do, and we need to look at what we commissioned and what we implemented in that report, and that's why I'm saying it'd be worthwhile maybe getting a discussion going in relation to this. Look, there's a wider discussion here, a wide discussion here, and there's a massive, huge focus coming from the likes of Udras na Gaeltacht and Corley Hundagunningal, Fuel Chading and others, and I'm not taking away any of their good work and their big, you know, their focus that they have, like this Friday out Staying There and More, will be launching our Blue Way programme. Great work getting done there, and Gurmila Mahika the core coming there and more, and I'm glad to be very, very much a part of that. Been calling for this for a very, very long time, but we need to have a wider discussion around tourism and what is tourism, how does tourism impact our community. So for us as a local community here, we're finding now that the cost of monthly rental, if you're lucky enough to get a home or a house to rent, it's ridiculous. It's 1,200 to 1,500 euros a month at very, very high prices. If you're looking at Airbnb, people coming in and they're expected to pay anything up to a couple of £100 per night just to rent Airbnb. And that has an offshoot on us in terms of the cost of rental for our young ones long term, because the government obviously is failing in the housing situation in terms of not building enough homes for people, the cost of building homes. And then when you become a tourist hotspot, that has a huge impact environmentally, socially and economically on us. And we need to look at who benefits. And not everybody benefits. And I hear the argument, people saying, oh, well, there's jobs created. Yeah, there are jobs created, but let's look at them jobs. They are minimum wage jobs. They're seasonal jobs, which will not leave any family being able to afford a mortgage or the rent that we have there at the moment in the area. And we need to force the Dublin government position of reducing rent for our community. And that,
well, I'm sure that's a discussion you will continue.
Sorry?
I'm sure that's a discussion you will continue at many council meetings now to come. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. That is Councillor.
Can I just take an opportunity to wish the Phelan and Ishbofin all the best that's coming up. So anybody that is in the West, Sariltat, and there's a number of fields coming up there between Minleke and Ishbofin, make your way to them festivals, because it takes a lot of work, a lot of organising by the community on a voluntary basis, as we all know. And the
Mahara, yes,
festival,
absolutely.
which you'll be at yourself, I'm sure.
Definitely. That is Councillor Micheál Miguel Asb there. And sorry for keeping you there, Councillor Michael McClafferty. How are you?
Good. good, Michaela. Good, thanks.
We were discussing there earlier CCTV cameras in relation to illegal dumping. What's your view on this?
I think, Michaela, genuinely there need to be more cameras up all through the place. Like I was saying to Shannon there, obviously, particularly places like beaches and so on, as agreeing with what Michael said there, private places, and that it's not the place for them, and nobody's suggesting that. But as I said to Shannon there, definitely on our roads, our approach road to the beach, say for example, your half mile or your mile out road that's tunneling down to your beach, there could be cameras there to see who's going down and so on.
Yeah, and I suppose that would capture registration plates then, that maybe you could narrow down who would be responsible.
Yeah, well, it's no different to yourself there, and it's usually when you do the guard slot. It comes up every so often, the sergeant or the day or whatever the guard's on is asking for dash cam footage in certain areas.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe with all this illegal dumping and on, not just beaches, hills, mountains, muckers, everywhere else, or Mahari, or Annagry, or Meals own direction, all the directions where all the rubbish has been dumped over this last number of years and counting, we all know them, hotspots as such, and new places appearing from time to time. But I do believe, and I mentioned this before to the council as well, I do believe, Michaela, there should really be cameras on the likes of the dual carriageway coming in, into the Kenny, into our main arteries, not just the dual carriageway, all our main arteries. The dual carriageway, the Balbafay, the Dunlows, the Fulcars, and so on, catching all the cars basically coming into the arteries, into the towns and villages and so on, and it would be a huge help then narrowing things down then if something went wrong, a crime arose. Like we're talking about here at the minute now with our dumping on our beaches, it would certainly narrow things down quite a bit anyway. Because otherwise, if there's nothing there to capture registrations, capture vehicles at least, the type of vehicle that was there, it's very difficult to identify what's going on. And particularly, God forbid, if a serious crime or something got up, it would be, all these things are vital in that fight against crime. Because as we all know at the minute, obviously with this new policing plan, we've less Gardaí about, we've less patrol cars about, we have less checkpoints, so on, etc. And there are certain elements just of unwanted are just feeling that we're getting a free run of it. We can do what we want. Donegal's an easy target. We can shoot into that county as we watch for a couple of hours, shoot out again across the border or borders, wherever the case may be. And the chances of getting stopped is little to none. And that's what we don't want either. So I think we need to start thinking outside the box here as such and start to get smarter ourselves and be more creative and come up with more creative ideas and stuff like this. Myself and others, we will be bringing forward to the new policing committee now when it's formed again, hopefully in September, I believe. Or I understand anyway.
Councillor Michael McCafferty, we're just up against the clock, heading towards the news at 10. So thank you so much for that. And no doubt that's another conversation that will continue as well. We'll be back after the news at 10.
Shop Homeland's July mega deals at your local Homeland or at homeland.ie. Save 10% of Snickers hoodies, fire safety extinguisher and fire blanket set. Now $24.99, save €10. Save 10% of all pet beds. All this and more until July 21st. Shop in-store and at homeland.ie. Nationwide delivery available.
From Thursday the 17th until Sunday the 20th of July, all roads lead to Monaghan Town for the return of the highly anticipated 4-night open-air country music festival featuring Ireland's top acts, the Tumblin' Paddies on Thursday, Jimmy Buckley on Friday, Mike Denver on Saturday, and Michael English on Sunday. With some of the best support acts, plus the jiving competition. Tickets are available from the West Arna Arms Hotel in Monaghan. For more information, check out Monaghan Country Music Festival website or our Facebook page.
I had problems with my knees for about 7-8 years. I think I'd give Kingsbridge 5 stars just because of the support and help that they gave me before and after the surgery. I was a public patient and the HSE reimbursed the cost.
Republic of Ireland residents can get rapid access to cross-border surgeries at Kingsbridge private hospitals in Belfast and Derry, with medical costs reimbursed by the HSE. Find out more at kingsbridgeprivatehospital.com/cross-border. Kingsbridge, your fast track to 5-star care. Terms and conditions apply.
Make real summer savings at Super Value. Like Super Value Fresh Irish Lamb Loin, now save 33%. Confectionery selected ranges like Pepsi, Cadbury and Pringles, 3 for €5. Scan your Real Rewards card or app and get selected Ariel and Bold Pods 58-piece, just €10. And My Waddy 1 litre, 2 for €3. Make real summer savings at Super Value. DRS applies.
Ensure the safety of your team with SafeTech. We have part-funded courses in first aid, people moving and handling, confined spaces, food hygiene, quad bikes, fire warden, IPAF MUPS, electrofusion, welding and machinery cards for Ireland and UK sites. Also delivering online courses like utilities, water hygiene and construction supervisors. SafeTech can deliver group training at your business premises. To find out more, contact safetech.ie today.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenny's. Find all your summer essentials from fashion and accessories to beauty and homeware at McElhenny's. Explore more in-store or shop online at mcelhennys.com today.
The countdown is on for Carrigart Fest, July 11th to 13th in the Marquee at the Carrigart Hotel, featuring One for the Road, Bingo Loco Goes Country, and the Whistling Donkeys. Tickets on Eventbrite or from hotel reception. Why not stay over? Great accommodation and brand new restaurant await. Book now at carrigarthotel.com.
All you need to make your house a home at Patterson's The Halliford. From garden furniture to kitchens, sofas and dining sets, all under one roof. Need a new mattress? Why not visit our sleep centre on the first floor, with a large range of quality beds and mattresses in stock and ready for collection or delivery. Relax in our coffee shop serving hot lunches daily. Open Monday to Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Patterson's Kitchens and Interiors, The Halliford.
A huge 3-day €1 million stock clearance marquee sale begins this Thursday the 3rd at McGinley's Furniture, Letterkenny. Sofas, beds, mattresses, dining sets, occasional furniture and more, all heavily discounted in store and even further reduced in the clearance marquee where there's up to 70% off. It's for 3 days only, Thursday, Friday and Saturday from 10 until 6 daily, and it's first come, first served. So don't miss out at McGinley's Furniture, Portling Business Park, Letterkenny.
Irish summers, eh? If only we were guaranteed the weather. But what is guaranteed is the €1 million One Lotto Plus player must win this Saturday, July 5th. That's €1 million guaranteed, whatever the weather. So, rain or shine, play Lotto with Plus for your chance to win. The National Lottery. It could be you. Play responsibly. Play for fun.
Thinking of a new kitchen, dreaming of a bathroom upgrade, or finally tackling that garden project? At B&S Credit Union, we are introducing our lowest ever home improvement loan rate to help turn your dreams to reality. B&S Credit Union is now lending up to €100,000. For full details of this great rate and flexible loan product, visit our website at bnscu.ie or freephone 1800 290 390, where our experienced loan team will be delighted to help you. Loans are subject to approval. Terms and conditions apply. B&S Credit Union Limited is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
McGowan Hearing, your audiologist experts now in Letterkenny, Buncrana and Carndonagh. Book your free hearing aid consultation in our clinic or your home across the northwest and beyond with Dara McGowan on 07191 00208.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's Donna Marie Doherty with the 10 o'clock news. The location of the surgical hub for the Northwest has just been discussed in the Dáil Chamber. In a meeting yesterday between a delegation of doctors from Donegal and the Health Minister, Minister Jennifer Carroll McNeill reiterated that no final decision has been made in relation to the location of the surgical hub in the Northwest. She also assured the group that the decision would be data-driven and not influenced by coalition politics, following comments made by Minister of State Marion Harkin. Donegal Deputy Piers Doherty sought clarity on the claims that Sligo would be made the location for the Northwest hub as per an agreement made while the government formation negotiations were taking place.
I'm just asking you maybe in your response to give clarity, because it's not just Marion Harkin that has gone on local radio to say this. Minister Healy-Rae has also gone on and said that she secured this. So we've two ministers now that make up the formation of the government, and I'm wondering, does one hand know what the other is doing? So has the minister or the department clarified with Marion Harkin whether a deal exists as she claims or not? Or is this you just suggesting within the department that you have no knowledge of a deal? They're two different things, so we would like to get clarification in relation to that.
In responding, Minister of State Michael Monaghan was unable to clarify if this was the case.
I hear what you're saying in relation to the challenges in Letterkenny and in Donegal. I will put that back into the department and to the Minister in relation to it. But I can't be clearer in the statement that I have here in front of me from the department, and I understand the issues that you have raised. Without labouring on the point, I will take the points that you have raised and I will refer them back to the department and seek clarification for you.
Almost 500,000 people are being served by at-risk drinking water supplies. It's down from 561,000 in 2023, while the number of long-term boil notices dropped by a third in the same period. The number in Donegal sits at 9,410 as the Glenties Ardra, Lettermacha Ward and Milford Water Supplies remained on the remedial action list at the end of last year. The Environmental Protection Agency is warning the process to remove lead from supply networks is still far too slow. EPA Programme Manager Noel Byrne says fixing these issues now mean fewer problems in the future.
The longer these resilience issues aren't addressed by Garn, it does create the opportunity for something to go wrong, and then public health could be impacted. So that's why it's a positive for everybody if resilience is improved in drinking water supplies.
The new Cathaoirleach of the Inishowen Municipal District says changes to the defective block scheme should be prioritised to ensure people entitled to more support get it as quickly as possible. Councillor Martin McDermott says it's particularly important that provisions is made for an upfront payment as people are struggling to begin the process. Councillor McDermott's also seeking a meeting between a delegation of members, council officials and Department of Housing personnel to iron out a number of issues. He says at present there's too much miscommunication and confusion.
There needs to be a lot better communication. I requested that we have a delegation of public reps from each political party, the senior executive in Donegal County Council and the senior staff within the Department of Housing. We're getting one story from the department, we're getting another story from officials in the council, and we're not so sure which story is right. So I think it's time that we met across the table and see what exactly is happening with housing here in Donegal.
The Wild Atlantic Way has been voted the world's second most Instagrammed road trip. A study used car retailer Cinch looked at the 40 most iconic driving routes across the 6 continents, then whittled it down to the top 5, which have been accumulated to the highest number of photos posted on Instagram. The Wild Atlantic Way, spanning from Donegal to Cork, has 1.9 million mentions on Instagram, mostly containing images of the coastline. It also has a 4.8 star TripAdvisor rating and is beaten to the top spot by Route 66 in the US. Letterkenny may be without water today as repairs to a burst water mains gets underway. Ballyrain, Lurgy Brack, Port Road, Main Street, Ardra and Bonnagee, as well as the surrounding areas, may be impacted, with the work due to be complete at 7 o'clock this evening. It's recommended that an allowance of up to 4 hours is made for the supplies to fully return. Taking a look now to the weather forecast, today will bring a mix of sunshine and scattered showers for a time, some of which will be heavy with a chance of a few scattered thunderstorms. Highest temperatures of 14 to 17 degrees in light to moderate westerly breezes. That's all from now from the news desk. Back with headlines at 11 o'clock. The obituary notices this Wednesday morning, July 2nd. The death has occurred of Catherine McGinley, Miguel Asb, for Glencolmkill, at the age of 99. Remains are reposing at McCabe's funeral home Ardra today from 4 o'clock until 8 o'clock. Reposing at her late residence in For Glencolmkill tomorrow from 2 p.m. until Holy Rosary at 9 o'clock. Funeral Mass on Friday at 11 a.m. in St Columba's Church Cashel, Glencolmkill, with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. The funeral Mass will be streamed live by mcn.live. Family time on the morning of the funeral, please. The death has taken place of Sister Benedict Culligan in her 101st year, St Joseph's Convent of Mercy, Newton Kennedy Street, Strabane, and formerly of Kilrush, County Clare. Reposing at St Joseph's Convent of Mercy, Newton Kennedy Street, Strabane today from 11 a.m. Funeral leaving St Joseph's tomorrow at 3:30 for Requiem Mass in the Church of the Immaculate Conception, Strabane at 4 o'clock. Interment afterwards in the convent cemetery. Requiem Mass can be viewed live via the parish webcam on churchservices.tv. The death has taken place of Rosaleen Gormley, ní Mackay, 191 Lisnara Road, Donamana, and formerly of Station Road, Artagarvan. Funeral leaving her home tomorrow morning at 10:25, for Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church, Aughbrack at 11 o'clock, followed by interment in St Joseph's Cemetery, Craigban. Donations in lieu of flowers please to chest, heart and stroke, care of Quigley's funeral directors. Family time please from 10 o'clock tonight and before the funeral tomorrow. The Requiem Mass can be viewed live via the parish webcam. The death has taken place of John Barron, 5 Ranmore Walk, Letterkenny, formerly of Lenamore Muff, reposing at his late residence from 5 p.m. until 10 p.m. today and from 12 noon until 10 p.m. tomorrow. Rosary at 9 o'clock on both nights. Funeral on Friday morning at 11 o'clock in the Church of Irish Martyrs, Letterkenny, with private cremation to follow. Funeral Mass can be viewed at irishmartyrs.com. Family time please on the morning of the funeral. Family flowers only please, with donations in lieu if desired to the Donegal Hospice, care of Con McDade funeral directors. The death has occurred of Hugh Kelly, Port Hall, Lifford. Hugh will be reposing at his late residence today from 11 a.m, concluding with Rosary at 9 p.m. Funeral leaving his home at 11:30 tomorrow morning, for Requiem Mass at 12 noon in St Patrick's Church, Murlough, Lifford. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Funeral Mass can be viewed on the parish webcam. The death has taken place of Robert O'Brien, 11 McNeely Villas, Letterkenny. Robert's remains are reposing at his sister Angela and CJ McGinley's residence, 7 The Grange Glen Car, Letterkenny, today from 12 noon until 9 p.m. Rosaries at 9 o'clock. Funeral from there tomorrow at 12:30, going to St Eunan's Cathedral, Letterkenny, for 1 p.m. Requiem Mass, which can be viewed live on churchservices.tv. Interment afterwards in New Lex Cemetery, Letterkenny. Family time on the morning of the funeral please. Family flowers only please. Donations in lieu of flowers if desired to Medical 3 Ward, Letterkenny University Hospital, care of any family member. The death has taken place of John Hanlon, Drumna Knott, Newmills, Letterkenny. John is reposing at his family home. Funeral from there with Requiem Mass tomorrow at 11 o'clock in St Columba's Church, Glenswilly, with burial afterwards in Conwall Cemetery. Funeral Mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. Family time from 10 p.m. tonight and before the funeral tomorrow. Family flowers only please. Donations if desired to Donegal Hospice, care of any family member or Charlie McLafferty funeral director. The death has taken place of Paddy Mongan, 61 Cashel Park, Lisnenan, Letterkenny, reposing at the Eternal Light Chapel of Rest, Carnamugga, Letterkenny, today from 4:30 until 6:30. Removal at 6:30, going to the Church of the Irish Martyrs, Gort Lee, Letterkenny, arriving at 7 o'clock to repose overnight. Requiem Mass tomorrow at 11 a.m, burial afterwards in New Lex Cemetery. Mass can be viewed on the parish webcam. The death has taken place of Margaret Ethna McLean, Lower Drummaweir, Greencastle. Funeral from her home this morning at 10:30 for 11 a.m. funeral mass in St Mary's Church, Ballybrack, followed by interment in Ballybrack Cemetery. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Amazing summer wine selection is here. Maybe you heard it on the grapevine? Including a deliciously fresh and zesty organic New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc, an angelic Sainte Victoire Provence Rosé, and a dry and rich French Merlot from Languedoc. Travels very well apparently, especially when you're coming home from Aldi. Summer range in store now from just $7.99 while stocks last. Get the facts with Drinkaware. Visit drinkaware.ie.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
And welcome back to the 9 till Noon Show. It's Michaela Clark in this morning for Greg Hughes. Having a look at some of your comments now. I agree totally with Mary T. We are not looking after our history. There are many local places of great historical importance being ignored. When I visit an area, even if I am just passing through, I seek out and visit these places. I have zero interest in going to see modern buildings. They're more interested in building bicycle sheds. A listener says there are long tailbacks in Burt due to roadworks. Another says, I was travelling from Carrickfinn and saw a car from the north disposing of a child's nappy out the window while they were driving. People need to respect our county and our area. I find that people from Northern Ireland don't respect our area. Do they even contribute to the local economy? Well, I'm sure they do whenever we're visiting and spending money in local businesses, but that is totally unacceptable, throwing a nappy out a car window. Another listener says there are not sufficient and easily accessible facilities such as toilets at all major natural attractions, especially in more remote areas. I see both sides of the coping coin. I'm a motorhome owner, and the lack of facilities for camping and motorhoming in Ireland is awful. I don't think people realise the money motorhomes spend in the communities they visit. We enjoy the high life when we're in towns and villages, and mostly eat out of takeaways. That's a lot of money going into local communities. On Monday we stayed in Dunlow in the car park. There were 8 or 9 vans in some form. No one was sitting in their vans. They are all in local pubs and restaurants. We don't need facilities like tents, do we? Mostly need to empty waste. Some nights we book into campsites, fill up fresh and empty black and grey water. It's a growing economy with little or no facilities. This is going to lead to problems. However, if managed properly, it could be of great benefit to Donegal tourism. More and more foreign tourists are discovering Donegal via motorhoming. We need to plan ahead and tap into this sector. In relation to tent camping, most campers are considerate of the environment. However, like everything else in life, a few will spoil it. They have no regards for nature or the environment, and you can put up as many signs as you want, they will pay no heed. It's a shame that honest campers taking their children away to enjoy nature are likely to be the losers here, as they have decency and would adhere to signs. However, the rogue campers abuse the sand dunes even when toilets are provided. They discard their rubbish and drug paraphernalia across the land for others to deal with, upsetting locals with their disgusting ways. I don't know what the solution is. I think we should have rangers on our beaches in summer months. Nip it in the bud, sell permits for people to camp, no permit, no camping. And this is a way to generate enough income to man this. It would only take a few campers to be moved on for them to realise, oh, Donegal are serious about implementing camping policies. It will help to filter out the rogues. Permits could be linked to a credit card or address. One thing is for sure, the county needs to react, and hopefully in a positive way, to bring in income and provide a safe, environmentally friendly option for campers of every description. That is the thing about, putting up these signs. There's obviously no one to police it, and if there were rangers in place, people would, I suppose, wouldn't be as willing to dump their rubbish, and that's a good idea. So your camper van is obviously linked to your credit card or address through the purchasing of a permit, and then that would deter people, hopefully, you would think, from dumping rubbish, because they know that they can link back to who could be responsible. The whole area of Gidor Bay is covered by a special area of conservation, an area of outstanding beauty designation, yet there is not a single sign to advertise that. Donegal County Council wrote to me saying they allow occasional camping. What a joke. Neither National Parks and Wildlife or Donegal County Council are doing a thing to enforce the area. Another listener says, if it's private, why is the council cleaning it up? And how many Gardaí are allocated to that area in terms of policing it? Surely if it's private property, the Gardaí should have been called to deal with the people there. I agree very much with Mary T. Our government are anti-Irish. For goodness sake, Ireland and its history is not a commodity for sale. Tourist numbers are well down because Ireland is too expensive and tourists have nowhere to stay. And another listener says, speak for yourself. Irish people who know their history always think about our 1916 when passing the GPO. That was in relation to a comment I made saying that, once you see the GPO for the first time and say you visit the museum, if you're in Dublin, you're kind of rushing about and you do walk past it, like it is any building, but I know everybody has their own view on that. That's just my personal view and how I see it. If I'm in Dublin, I don't, I know Mary T says she would visit it and she would touch the walls, but I would just see it as part of my route when in Dublin. I'm normally always there for something and rushing about. We'll be back with more just after this short break.
It's time for Vision Ireland Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Wednesday, the 2nd of July. You're playing on the blue sheet for the daily prize of €400. The reference number is S13. It's game number 27. The numbers are 29, 27, 66, 8, 51, 14, 4, 23, 85, and finally 19. Phone your claim to 9104833 before midnight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Vision Ireland bingo information at highlandradio.com.
This summer, fuel up for your holiday adventures with Certa and Adon the Little Dragon. Every time you fill up at a Certa forecourt or depot, you could win great weekly prizes, from fuel vouchers to your very own Adon Teddy. And you may also be in with a chance to win a luxury family break at Fota Island Resort, worth €2,000. So don't miss out. Fuel up for your summer adventures at Certa. For details and T's and C's, visit certaireland.ie/summer.
Your specialty is quality tiles, bathroom suites and wooden floors. Who is the best range of tiles in Donegal?
Crawford Tiles.
The best wood flooring?
Crawford Tiles.
The best bathroom suites?
Crawford Tiles.
5-day bathroom refits?
Crawford Tiles.
And who's been tampering with my questions?
That'll be me.
Crawford Tiles, Castlefin. That'll be them. 07491 43942.
Looking for family fun this July? Discover Century Complex. Kids will love the soft play, while teens try augmented reality darts and crazy golf. Enjoy tasty food and the latest blockbusters. Rain or shine, Century Complex is the ultimate destination for all ages. Unforgettable fun awaits. Don't miss out.
And welcome back to the 9 till noon show. Now, the campaign for a surgical hub for the Northwest is very much continuing. Yesterday, a delegation of Donegal doctors met with Minister Jennifer Carroll McNeill, the Health Minister. I'm joined now by Dr. Paul O'Connor, consultant anaesthetist at Letterkenny University Hospital. Good morning to you, Paul.
Good morning, Michaela, and good morning to your listeners, and thank you for having me on your programme.
Not at all. It's a very important issue. So yesterday was a follow-up meeting to a previous one that was held with Minister Jennifer Carroll McNeill a couple of weeks ago. How did yesterday's meeting go?
Well, we met the Minister for about 45 minutes. I have to say it was a very productive meeting. It was constructive. It was respectful on both sides. The Minister listened very carefully to the points that we made, and I would say it was quite clear that she had done her homework. She confirmed that no decision had been made as to where a surgical hub for the Northwest would be located, and she also explained that she was very much data-driven and that her decision would be informed by clinical considerations for the most part.
And the Minister last week in Dáil had said that she hasn't received the business case. Is that still the situation?
Yeah, that is my understanding, that no business case has been received from the HSE West Northwest.
And in relation to the Minister saying that it will be data driven, but time surely is of the essence if this case is being put forward for the surgical hub to be located in Sligo. What was her position, or did you put it to her that, we need a timely decision on this now?
Yeah, we discussed the time frame for a decision, and she wouldn't commit to an exact time frame, but she did indicate that it would be within the reasonably short term.
And were you able to put it to the Minister, the comments that were made by Minister of State Marian Harkin last week on the show with Greg?
I didn't hear the programme with Marian Harkin, but I understand that she made some reference to the programme for government. But look, I'm a clinician, and we met with the Minister yesterday as a group of clinicians, and so our job was to present the clinical case. So I'm not au fait with the political considerations.
And in relation to that clinical case, was there further information that you presented yesterday to the Minister?
We presented her with a draft document which has been authored principally by Mr. Michael Sugru, one of our local breast surgeons. And the document is in response to a HSE report on Model 3 hospital services, which was produced about a year ago. And so Letterkenny was chosen as a pilot site to support and to augment services in Model 3 hospitals And so we have produced a very detailed document which contains a lot of data which we have given to the Minister.
And in relation to that time frame, I know she has asked for time to be given. Do you accept this, or would you rather a decision is made now? So, because this is such a campaign, you are doing your jobs every day as well, and it's this added stress if we're going to get a surgical hub or not, particularly for yourselves working at the coalface, but for the wider public in Donegal.
Well, there's no doubt that the surgical hub is an absolutely critical piece of surgical infrastructure. And it drives, the recruitment of surgeons, which in turn supports inpatient surgery and emergency surgery here at Letterkenny. So it is a very, very important decision. I wouldn't really expect the Minister to take it quickly, but she has been aware of the various concerns now for the last couple of months. So we would be hopeful of a decision in the short to medium term.
And what is the next step now for yourselves?
We will continue to articulate and advocate for services here in Donegal. It's not really the case that we're not trying to present this as a decision about Donegal versus Sligo.
Mm-hmm.
Our colleagues in Sligo have an equal need for surgical infrastructure. However, if there is only going to be one surgical hub in the northwest in the next couple of years, then we think that the data supports Letterkenny.
I'm joined now also by Donegal Deputy Padraig McLaughlin, who is Chief Whip with Sinn Féin. Padraig, this has been an issue that Oireachtas members seem to be united on as well, and it was raised yesterday in the Dáil, and you had raised it this morning also.
Yeah, I'd like to commend Dr. O'Connor and all the team of consultants in Letterkenny, the GPs who have campaigned for such a long time on behalf of the people of Donegal, who have asked for just fairness, the same services, the same access to services as everybody else across the state. No special treatment, just fairness and equality in healthcare. And they have educated the public representatives, and I've never seen the public representatives in Donegal so united. And it's crucial because we know that our emergency services, our emergency department is under real threat. We have 3 general surgeons, half of what it was a number of years ago. It cannot be sustained. We can't attract the surgeons that we need to this region. So this is a serious, profound crisis. And, for too many years, it is our view that we've been neglected by the powers that be in the HSE and the Sálta Hospital Group beforehand, who were Galway-centric. They were focused on Galway and to a lesser extent Sligo, and Donegal was out of sight and out of mind. So the one welcome thing in recent months is the move to just have a surgical hub for the entire region. Remember, that's from Mallinhead to Roscommon for the entire region. Just to be in Sligo has been pushed back on. And we've been generous in Donegal. We've said that, it shouldn't be a divide and conquer. I mean, we are willing to accept 2 surgical hubs, one in Sligo, one in Letterkenny, but built at exactly the same time, because we cannot fall further behind in Letterkenny. So we've been generous in Donegal. We didn't play divide and conquer. That's why the comments by Minister Marion Harkin were serious. We've sought urgent clarification, and we've got some degree of assurance from the Minister of Health. She spoke to the doctors last night, but also we have a statement on the record saying she hasn't made a decision yet. But she needs to tell Marion Harkin that this is not a political game. This is not a divide and conquer. This is serious, and it has to be.
And what is your understanding about them comments? Have you had any clarity that it is included in the programme of government?
Well, you see, you can have deals that aren't written down, and that's the problem with the Lowry deal. Much of what they have agreed is not written down. It's not been published. So while they might say the programme for government has a suggestion of a surgical hub for the Northwest, you could have a deal that's not written down. So what we want now is the Taoiseach Micheál Martin negotiated this. It's a pity he's in Japan at the moment. But we need them to say clearly, this is not a political game. This is about fairness. This is about facts, data, evidence-based approaches. And if that's taken, then Letterkenny will not be left behind. I'm certain of that. If this is about fairness and objectivity and all of that. But listen, this is much more serious now. Like, people of Donegal will not accept neglect, will not accept second-class citizenship. And the people who have most credit in all of this are the likes of Dr. O'Connor and his team, you know, Michael Sugrue, Louise Moore and Anya Keating, just to mention but a few. The full team of consultants have signed that letter. GPs across Donegal have signed that letter. And, you know, they have stood up for our people, and they deserve 100% support from all of us till we get what we deserve, which is justice, fairness, equality for our people in Donegal.
And you were scheduled to, I didn't hear the Dáil debate earlier because I was on air, you were scheduled to raise the issue with the Health Minister this morning. How did that go?
Yeah, what we had was the Minister for State, Michael Moynihan, read a statement out and, you know, basically said that the Minister is engaging with doctors, public representatives, campaigners in Donegal, that she hasn't made a decision yet. You know, but what we do need is the Minister for Health to have a conversation, Minister Marion Harkin, and say, listen, I'm not aware of any deal. There's no deal done here. So we need clarification on that. You know, that was very concerning what was said last Friday, because it becomes then a political game. It becomes a backroom deal, being referred to as grubby deal between Michael Lowry's independents to get this government back into.
But then at the heart of that is people's health, and it's the staff that are dealing with these pressures and that know they need this surgical hub here.
Absolutely. And I was on Ocean FM earlier this morning, and obviously mostly the people listening to that radio were in Sligo Leitrim. And I said, this isn't about divide and conquer. We're not playing that game. This is about all of the people in the region, from the top of Donegal, from Inishowen and Fanad and West Donegal, right down through into Sligo, Leitrim, North Mayo, Roscommon. All of us need to stand together, right, and demand equality in health services. Mostly, of course, in Donegal, we've been mostly failed by these politics, internal HSE politics. We have no more time for side deals, grubby deals. So listen, hopefully that will be put to bed in the next 24 hours. And I remain confident, but not complacent, that if there's any justice and fairness here, we will have a surgical hub for Letterkenny Hospital.
And how do you see this, Padraig? You'd be more up to speed with the timelines for these decisions. You know, the Minister has asked for more time. Once she makes a decision, do you think that, you know, how long would it take then for a surgical hub to be delivered if it were for Sligo, or if we were getting two? Would this, if the Minister was to decide if we were getting one for Sligo and one for Letterkenny, would that have to be a full business case again?
Well, what we need is we need, if it's going to be Letterkenny and Sligo, it has to be done at exactly the same time. We've actually been generous in Donegal. We haven't said this is Sligo versus Letterkenny, but if there's only going to be one surgical hub for the entire Northwest, it would have to be in Letterkenny, clearly based on objective fact. Now, we're being generous in Donegal and we're saying we'll accept two, but at exactly the same time. And this is an important point for the listeners in Donegal. Whenever they talk about an ambulatory centre and the sort of bells and whistles and a much bigger project, that's fine. We all are up for that, but it'll take far too long, far too long. And time is of the essence here. We have 3 permanent surgeons. We can't attract the surgeons that we need and all the support teams of Letterkenny. We cannot have a message sent out that Letterkenny's fallen even further behind. So it's crucial that we get the surgical hub at exactly the same time as Sligo, at the very least, and that's the focus right now. The wider project of an ambulatory centre, that's for cancer services and all the other services, that's great, that's coming down the line. It's, in my view, that will take too long. We haven't got time here to wait for these projects down the line. The other thing to say is that there are 6 surgical hubs, as you know, already cleared. There's some already operational, 2 in Dublin, Waterford, Limerick, Cork and Galway. So this is about now delivering equality of access to these services across the entire state. And there's nowhere needs it more, nowhere crying out more than the 6th largest hospital. And I'll say it again, the 6th largest hospital in the state is Letterkenny. It's a major hospital, and we cannot treat it anymore like a backwater, like somewhere that's out there in the middle of the Atlantic, you know. So we have to win this battle. We have to remain focused. We have to remain united. And that's why I say none of these side deals, political deals, you know, divide and conquer stuff. We're focused here. I think we can win this battle, but we need to see it home.
And do you see Minister Jennifer Carroll McNeill as a minister that is open to this? She spoke in the Dáil last week saying that it was very important for her to visit Donegal, you know, to understand the geography, to understand the situation here. So do you believe that she will truly take all this into consideration?
Well, listen, I'm listening to the doctors and consultants. They've had 2 meetings with her now. They believe she's been respectful, she's engaging, she's basing it on the facts. So that is encouraging, I have to say. And for me, this is about fairness and equality for the people of Donegal. And if the minister listens to the facts, if she listens to the facts presented by the likes of Dr. O'Connor here, Dr. Sugru, who has put together a tremendous body of work looking at Letterkenny Hospital and how these Letterkenny's a Model 3 hospital. It's not a top tier Model 4 hospital, and that means we get failed. We're falling further and further behind. So if they're listened to, if our doctors, consultants are listened to, if the facts are listened to, then we will get what we deserve and what we're entitled to here. So for me, it's about staying the course, staying united, staying focused, and not backing down until we get the surgical hub is just point one. That's the first objective. After that, we need to get more beds, more doctors, more nurses. We need equality in funding. Letterkenny Hospital has been neglected in terms of funding. If you compare Letterkenny with other hospitals across the state that are Model 3, we are neglected, failed. So this is just the first stage, but it is this battle must be won, and the surgical hub must be delivered for Letterkenny to save our emergency department, save our services, and then take it from there.
Dr. Paul O'Connor, just back to yourself briefly. I'm sure you would echo the comments there that Deputy McLaughlin was making. What do you feel the future looks like if this surgical hub isn't delivered?
You couldn't overstate the importance of the surgical hub. It drives recruitment of surgeons at a time when there are not enough surgeons in Ireland. And the surgeons that we do have are more inclined to work in Model 4 hospitals or in hospitals that are closely located in Dublin, Cork and Galway or Limerick, places like that. So the challenge for the recruitment of surgeons in Letterkenny is and in other places like Sligo and Mayo and maybe Kerry, it's not just Letterkenny, but the challenge of recruiting surgeons is huge. And if we don't have the surgical infrastructure, then we're likely to fail in that recruitment.
And we had a caller yesterday, Emma Gova. She was speaking about, the fear if one of her children takes sick, the fear of having to go to the hospital. But I'm sure, there's a sense of fear among yourselves as well. You're under so much pressure providing that care. And, can you sustain this level?
Subject to adequate manpower in terms of doctors and nurses and other health professionals, then of course. But naturally, it's a dynamic area and it changes, and there are stresses, particularly with regard to recruitment. I mean, I needn't remind your listeners that we don't have a proper motorway or a railway service in Donegal, so that doesn't help,
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you both so much for joining me this morning. No doubt we'll be talking more on this topic, and the campaign will continue until there is a final decision made, and hopefully it's the right one for Donegal. Dr. Paul O'Connor, consultant anaesthetist at Letterkenny University Hospital, and Sinn Féin Chief Whip, Donegal Deputy Padraig McLaughlin. Thank you both for speaking to me this morning. And we'll be back now just after this short break.
Highland Bakery brings the magic to your morning tea break. Golden scones, still warm, soft in the middle and impossible to resist. Look for the packet with the rabbit on it. Fresh from the oven to your local shop. 25 years of Highland Bakery.
Organ donation saves and transforms lives. A change in Irish law means that if you are an adult, you will now be considered an organ donor when you die. The choice to become an organ donor is yours, but it's important that your loved ones know your wishes. A register is available for those who would like to opt out of organ donation. Visit hse.ie/organ donation or call HSE Live on 1800 700 700 to find out more. From the HSE.
Get the perfect lawn with Homeland's July mega deals. Alpina 452cc ride-on mower now €2,650, save €349. iPower 99 drive mower now €399, save €100. FCO multi-tool now only €469, save €100. Offers end July 21st in store and at homeland.ie. Nationwide delivery available.
This Friday the 4th on Around the Northwest, we're celebrating the 20th anniversary of Watson Hire in Letterkenny. We'll be broadcasting live from the store where top name manufacturers will be holding demos and offering great discounts. There's also special offers in every department, draws to win some great prizes and even some barbecue food to enjoy. Quite the day of it. That's Around the Northwest live this Friday from the big open day at Watson Hire in Letterkenny.
Are you decorating your home or maybe designing a workspace? At Foy's, we've got everything you need. As the largest paint and wallpaper stockist in the Northwest, we supply trusted names like Farrow and Ball, Dulux, Fleetwood, Little Green and Colour Trend. So from residential to commercial, we'll help you get the job done right. Visit Foy's in Letterkenny and Ballybuffet, where our qualified interior designers and paint colour consultants are ready to help.
It is the 9 till noon show and it's Michaela Clark in today for Greg Hughes. I'm delighted now to be joined, well, I can see one half anyway of the TikTok stars Tag and Derry Fleming. I'll say good morning to you first. Derry, how are you? Oh, there we go.
Good morning, fantastic. It's sun shining here in the kingdom. How are you?
Good. Yeah, it's not shining too much here now at the minute. Just as you mentioned the kingdom, I'm from Tyrone, so I suppose... Yes.
Whoa. So you can see here, Derry. Bring it.
He's repping the colours.
He's repping the Kerry colours.
So I'm talking to you both today about the Returns Small Town Big Difference campaign. So tell me a bit about this.
It was unbelievable. Like, I mean, say we visited 10 finalists there and the locations all over Ireland, and it was just the communities and the spirit is just unreal as to what is happening with all this returns. Yeah. So we went from Kerry up to Yee and Donegal. We went over to Meath. We went to Galway, Mayo, Carlow. We went all over, and like that. The furthest one was Donegal, and I must say, Buncrana, FC Hearts.
Yes.
FC Hearts. We got a warm welcome above there, and it was it was only a whistling stop now, but I must say it was gorgeous above. Similar to Kerry.
You're keeping everybody happy.
They are. But no, I must say, like, in Buncrana there, Hearts, the club president, Jonathan, he kind of showed us around, and we spoke to all the kids, every age group, and just like the initiative there from all the communities all over Ireland, they're raising funds simply by just recycling bottles. And they've started a program there for football for all, so it's all inclusive, like, and I thought that was fantastic. Like, they brought everybody in. With this met Matthew, the star there, and like that. It's just amazing that myself and Dad can go around to these communities and just chat and hear their story and share it then online as well. It's amazing.
Yeah.
They put this fella through his paces. I was sweating above. Jesus, the next generation coming through above there is unbelievable.
But it is a great initiative because it's raising awareness of the return scheme and it's bringing communities together as well. And I suppose it's encouraging other people to, I hadn't heard of, communities doing this in terms of the return scheme. So it's given others the idea to do that. And I suppose that's all positive.
Exactly. And like that, even there in Mayo, we visited a lovely community up in Aghagower. Is that it? Aghagower. And like they're just starting off building a running track, and now it is all gravel and stuff.
Yeah.
But all the kids were so happy and proud to show us what they've done, and they built an obstacle course first. And they put us through our paces, but they were just so proud of what they've done with what they've raised so far. And it's just amazing, like that. As you said, look, even kids getting involved at an early age, it's very, very much a great initiative for kids coming through as well, isn't it? It's unreal, like, and then like the impact it has on the environment as well. Like, it's so positive all round. Plus, it's actually a social gathering as well for people in rural areas. Do you know what I mean? It's like the communities are coming together. And then, like, the most disadvantaged really are benefiting from something that's having a positive impact. So it's unreal, like, the stories, like, each place is so different.
Yeah.
And there's such stories out there, like, all because of this return initiative. We went from football to nursing homes to a special school. Yeah, in Carrigaline and Cork. And like, each one, it's kind of touches in a way, like, we've kind of, even like since our travels, we've touched base with them and how are they getting on. And it's lovely, like, it's very nice. And even the Madra there in Galway as well. With the charity for the dogs and the shelter, yes. Like every it's positive all round, every place for humans and animals. And like I said,
getting back again.
The car was full. We couldn't take any more dogs home to carry them. So, yeah.
So Buncrana Hearts FC is one of 10 chosen. So they're a finalist now, and they've also got €2,000 as it is at the minute. So what's the next step for them?
So like that, we're kind of going back now. We're going to go through all the 10 finalists, and now 5 then will be picked, and they will go forward then for the national broadcast. So they'll go on an advert for a return.
They'll be on billboards and
buses,
buses and everything. Like, but to be quite honest, each and every one of them are all worthy winners.
Yeah.
I don't know how we're going to pick 5.
Like, it's a hard job now to narrow it down to 5 because, like I said, each and every community that we visited, it's just unbelievable, like the positiveness.
And
like
not only that, though, wasn't it 300? Was there over 3,000 entered altogether?
Yeah,
narrowed it down to 300.
Yeah.
and then down to 10. Like, so it is. And then a lot of people are still not aware. Like, and these, like, in turn, are actually an example, like, to other communities as to what they can do and how they can benefit, like, in their local community as well.
But even like that, you can apply online on, was it return.ie/communities,
and they can still
you can
receive
get your
a bin, and they can start it off themselves.
Okay.
And who knows, like, what they want to do,
Yeah.
like, in their local community. It's a great fundraiser as well. Like, plus, like I said,
you're recycling, and
you're meeting new people who have the same interests, and the environment is benefiting everything. Like,
Yeah.
so it's
Win
a
all
win-win
round.
all round for everybody. Like,
Yeah. So did you enjoy your time in Donegal?
we did, of course.
The hill, he was singing the hills with Donegal as he came through. But like that, it was very quick. We were up and we were down, then back straight down to Meath in Dublin. But we're definitely going to head back there now. Hopefully, look, if Kerry get through to the final.
No, if. Don't you ever hear him saying if.
And if Donegal, we might see a green and gold all over Croker.
Can you bring it home, Sam McGuire, this year?
You're confident on that one, are you?
Oh, that's without a shadow of a doubt.
Well, thank you both so much. I'll wish you well in the semi-final, even though I shouldn't, but...
Oh, you should have come.
We are the same with you, Michaela.
Donegal all the best.
Yeah.
They said they need a lot of luck. Now, they might not have as much luck as the Kingdom are going to have, like, but sure, anyway, whatever.
Thank you so much for
Thank you so
joining me
much.
this morning.
Thank you. Take care.
We'll see you.
One the Kingdom.
And we'll be back again just after this short break.
Attention Donegal, Derry and Tyrone. PD Bathrooms and Tiles are proud to unveil our newest and most stunning showroom in Lisfannon Business Park, Buncrana. Located right opposite the Northwest Golf Course, we offer unbeatable quality and incredible value. For 30 years, we've been the experts in total refits, stocking and serving as the sole agent for many top brands. Visit us today and transform your space with the finest bathroom and tile solutions. Telephone 93 95 884. PD Bathrooms and Tiles, where excellence meets value. Lisfannon Business Park, Buncrana, F93H10F.
You catch them in the corner of your eye, refusing to blend in. An electrifying presence you can't forget. The new Cooper Performance plug-in hybrid range is designed to move you further. With up to 130 kilometers of electric autonomy, you can set your course without compromise. Search Cupra plug-in hybrid today. All-electric range based on WLTP test data. Real-world driving results may vary.
Your local dealer is DMG Motors, Clough Road, Donegal Town. Telephone 074 972136 or visit dmgmotors.ie.
Attention families, on Saturday 12th of July at 10:45am, Jackson's Hotel presents Say It, Sing It, Clap It, the ultimate Miss Rachel tribute show. Bring your toddler and join 45 minutes of singing, signing, puppetry and interactive fun. Tickets are $22.50 per parent and toddler. Book online now at jacksonshotel.ie.
Summer toys at Tinny's Toys. Everything for an outdoor summer. Swings, slides, trampolines, goalposts, rebounders, sand table, wheelbarrows. Of course, we also have our massive range of kids, pedal and electric toys. Need something for those rainy days? Well, we've that covered too. With the likes of Brooder Toys, Lego, Marvel Toys, books and more. Call into our store on the Leck Road, Letterkenny, or shop online at tinnystoys.com. Tinny's Toys. Much more than just farm toys. Dan Boy.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenny's. Find all your summer essentials from fashion and accessories to beauty and homeware at McElhenny's. Explore more in-store or shop online at mcelhennys.com today.
Today's weather. Today will bring a mix of sunshine and scattered showers for a time, some of which will be heavy with the chance of a few scattered thunderstorms. Highest temperatures of 14 to 17 degrees. Now, a book by Mary Attenborough and Michael Gallagher is being launched this week. It's titled Unbroken: Secrets, Lies and Enduring Love, a gripping true story of faithfulness and deception and a powerful reminder of the resilience of the human heart. I'm delighted to be joined in studio by both Michael and Mary this morning. Good morning to you both. Good morning. It'll be handy if I put up your microphones. That would probably help. So we'll take it back to Michael, when you met Mary.
Yeah, 1985 in Earls Court, London. We were members, both members of an anti-apartheid group, and also involved in the miners' strike. The miners' strike at the time. So that's where we met, basically.
Support for the miners' strike.
Support for the miners' strike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Mary, it was all going well until one day Michael was arrested then.
That's right. It was 4 a.m. in the morning on the 28th of October 1996 when our door was bashed down and armed police came into the flat and demanded that we get down on the floor. Of course, it was absolutely terrifying, you know, but I went into a state of shock. I was demanding to see the warrant, as you see on the telly, you know, and it took quite a while before they showed us anything or said any reason that it was being done. And they took Michael away in a white forensic suit.
Yeah, I'm sure that was extremely terrifying. Michael, do you want to tell us a bit about this arrest, what it was in relation to?
It was in relation to mortar bomb attacks in Heathrow Airport over a 5-day period, 3 separate attacks, mortar attacks into the airport, the complex, rather than the terminal. It was a complex. And and it was related to that, and I was suspected of being involved.
In 1994.
It was an IRA.
Yeah, a few years earlier.
Action, 2 years earlier.
And you did protest your innocence.
Yeah.
And then eventually you told Mary the truth.
Yeah, that's basically it. But I didn't tell her the truth until after the verdict.
Yeah.
2 years later, again, 2 years later, 18 months later. After the verdict. So Mary had campaigned and based on my innocence, and there was no way I could have told her anyway in the intervening period, you know, from my arrest, because there was, you know, it was been overheard and so on, and there would be no defence for me. So So that's I told Mary. So that was the crux of the whole story. But, you know, whether and Mary had campaigned both publicly and used her own forensic skills to debunk a lot of the evidence that was against me. Much of it really bogus, you know, but still. It had to be knocked down, you see. So, and Mary had done all that, and all the time when I was imprisoned, I was under this great weight that I was actually guilty, but Mary thought I was innocent.
Yeah,
you know.
And Mary, we'll get to your reaction to that, but during that time that Michael was in prison, what was that like for you? You know, you understood he was innocent. You were fighting for his release and to be proven innocent, more or less. It was a completely different time back then than what it is now.
Yes, that's right. I was totally convinced that he was innocent. Well, he told me that he was, of course. But also, it's dealt with in the book that Michael was a recovering alcoholic. And I felt that he wasn't really stable enough to be taken on by we were told by the British police themselves was supposed to be this super efficient organisation, which was the IRA. So I felt it was he was an unlikely candidate anyway, you know, and on top of that, of course, he said he was innocent. And he was writing a book. And one of the topics he wanted to write about was about being an IRA fixer, which
Okay.
of course was what he was accused of. And they'd actually picked up us talking about this storyline because they'd bugged our flat.
Right.
So this added yet again a layer of them just being confused between
Yes.
reality and fiction, as it was. But it turned out this is the double bluff, really, that it was a fiction, but it was based on reality, which is what the police were claiming.
Yeah. And how difficult did you find it during your campaign against this decision?
It was hard, because at first I didn't have anywhere to live. They took my flat for 3 weeks. It was only one room, but they decided they had to keep it for 3 weeks, which was ludicrous, which was obviously just to annoy me. So they did give me a hotel room, which is something. But of course, you're displaced from everything.
Yeah.
You haven't got
And
anything.
especially the distress of Michael being in prison and you left there, effectively on your own. The
That's
distress of
right.
that, and then in a different place to live then.
That's right. And then I lost my job because it came out about the incident. But I was able to get another one. I was given notice, but that's yet more strained because you've got to be looking for another job. And then I had to try and get bail money for him, which was sureties, and we raised £500,000 in bail money.
And that was it's a massive amount of money now, never mind
Yeah,
back then.
that's right. Yes, and of course I had to call on friends and family, Michael's family, my family, and I was explaining the lack of evidence against Michael, and also, of course, that he was innocent, and it was completely ludicrous. And so it was on the basis of my reassurances that people were putting forward the money as sureties. They didn't actually have to hand the money over. It was mainly
so you could
equity
prove,
in houses. Yeah, if you could prove you had the money. And he did eventually get bail in January 1997 for 6 months. He got bail. And that was great because we thought then the whole thing was over, because nobody gets bail when they're on an IRA.
Yeah, if they're that much of a danger,
Yeah, that's right. So it was clear that the judge felt there was no evidence against him. We thought, this is it. It's going to be the end of it. And that was a good, a happy time. That's a happy time in the book. Yeah.
And Mary, then when that moment came when Michael revealed that he was involved, how did that feel for you?
Well, it wasn't just the deception to me. It was that it might appear that I'd deceived my family and his family, and it was really shattering, and I felt at that moment that I should leave him.
Mm-hmm.
But we'd been together for 11 years, and he's eloquent, funny, witty, a great person to be around. He told me to say that, by the way. And
Michael's laughing here. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
No, but we had we still have a great relationship, And so it was it was an impossible decision. On the one hand, I thought, I have to leave him. This is going too far.
Mm-hmm.
And yet I just couldn't face that decision.
But it just shows how strong your bond was, the love that was there, that, despite the years of deception, you couldn't move on. And I suppose that's what love is. You accept someone no matter what they've done.
Yes.
Within reason sometimes.
I'm glad you say that, because that's what I feel. Love is about forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny that the film, The Love Story, the tagline is, love is never having to say you're sorry. I don't know why, but he did say he was sorry.
Yeah.
And I think that's the important thing. And that's how I was able to move on. Although I do occasionally throw it back at him, obviously. Use it to
hold it
blackmail
against
him.
you, Michael. We're jumping forward now a bit just because of time constraints. But Michael, you were released. You moved from a prison in England to Ireland, and then you were released then under the Good Friday Agreement. Was that? Yeah. And how has your life been now since you've rebuilt your life together?
Yeah, well, we already had a place we bought a place in Donegal before my arrest, and so it was quite an easy transition as far as that went, to actually be able to relocate I was actually repatriated in 98, the end of 98, and Mary had got a job in Dublin by this time, you know.
Mhm.
And although it was a bit, you know, Mary, you know, having to relocate job-wise as well, we were able to adjust fairly easily, you know, because we were going to Falcara here in Donegal, and it was near my parents' home place,
Yeah.
you know, so it was, and so I was half immersed in that culture anyway, you know, so.
Yeah, it was familiar then.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, so that was okay. And then Mary's background is engineering, mathematical engineering, software.
Yeah.
So we established this between us, using Mary's skills, mostly Mary's skills, to develop this this software. Mary, you'd have to help me here. What kind of software?
Well, we started off with a shop building package, you know, which was launched in 2002, I think it was, wasn't it? And that really didn't go well at the time, you know. So then we moved on to search engine optimization for small businesses, and using a content management system, which is perhaps a bit too technical for, you know,
for us folk. But yeah, you've rebuilt your life now, and I suppose that's, you know, what you've been through. It's a positive then, you know, out the other end, and you're here in Donegal living for how many years now?
25 years, yeah.
That's right,
and we've still got the business going, but you actually started to grow through the small businesses. We deal in small businesses throughout Ireland and some UK, and it's, as Mary says, it's search engine optimization. So when the small business owners started to get business from our websites, there was word of mouth recommendations, and no, we didn't have to advertise a lot, you know, but we were able to grow it, you know, fairly extensively.
Yeah. Well, just stay there just 2 minutes. I'm just going to take the news headlines, and we'll continue this discussion as well. It is 11 o'clock and it's time for the latest news headlines with Donna Marie Doherty.
Thanks, Michaela. Good morning. The location of the surgical hub for the Northwest has been discussed before the Dáil in a meeting yesterday between a delegation of doctors from Donegal and the Health Minister. Minister Jennifer Carroll McNeil reiterated that no final decision has been made and that it will be data-driven, not influenced by coalition politics. It follows comments made by South Donegal and Sligo Minister of State Marion Harkin that Sligo would be the preferred location as per a deal made at the time of government formation negotiations. Sinn Féin deputies Pearse Doherty and Patrick McLaughlin questioned the claims made on Highland Radio in the chamber this morning. However, no clarity was given. Speaking on the 9 till noon show afterwards, Deputy McLaughlin says it's time for the Taoiseach to step in. Former Kilkenny hurling star DJ Carey has pleaded guilty to 10 counts of defrauding a number of people by pretending he had cancer and needed money for treatment. The 54-year-old was due to stand trial today on 21 charges, but a jury wasn't required after he entered plead guilty pleas. One count of dishonesty, inducing a person to pay him money, was struck out, while the remaining charges will be taken into consideration by the sentencing judge. His sentence hearing will take place in October. The new Gaherlock of the Inishowen Municipal District says changes to the defective block scheme must be prioritised to ensure people are entitled to more support get it as quickly as possible. Councillor Martin McDermott says it's particularly important that provisions is made for an upfront payment as people are struggling to begin the process. Councillor McDermott's also seeking a meeting between a delegation of members, council officials and Department of Housing personnel to iron out a number of issues. The Wild Atlantic Way has been voted the world's second most Instagram road trip. A study by used car retailer Cinch took a look at the 40 most iconic driving routes across the 6 continents, then whittled it down to the top 5, which have accumulated the highest number of photos posted on Instagram. The Wild Atlantic Way, spanning from Donegal to Cork, has 1.9 million mentions on Instagram, containing mostly image of breathtaking coastline. And finally, Letterkenny may be without water today as repairs to a burst water main gets underway. Ballyrain, Lurgy Bragg, Port Road, Main Street, Dry Arch, Bonagee and the surrounding areas may be impacted, with the work due to be complete at 7 o'clock this evening. It's recommended that an allowance of up to 4 hours is made for supplies to fully return. That's all for now. Back with more headlines at 12 noon.
Now, welcome back to the 9 till noon show. Michael Gallagher and Mary Attenborough remain in studio. They have written a memoir titled Unbroken Secrets, Lies and Enduring Love. And before the news there, we were just talking about how they've settled here in Donegal, and they've been here now this past 25 years. But how difficult was it, Michael, we'll start with yourself, after your imprisonment to come here and settle and build a new life?
Yeah, well, the fact I was coming out of prison made it a lot easier. The knowledge that I was coming out of prison. But when I got 25 years, obviously, I didn't know I was coming out of prison. And I looked forward to quite a bleak future.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was come off the dock, I remember one prison officer escorting me said, "How old are you now, Gallagher?"
Right.
And I gave him my age, and he says, "You're going to be an old man when you get out of here," you know. So it was, actually sticking the boot in. But but my first thought was, I can tell Mary. It was actually, conversely, it was a load off my shoulders because I could tell Mary, and then as I've explained to you in the book. There was that was it. It was out of my hands what happened as far as the relationship went,
Yeah.
There was absolutely no way I thought she was going to wait 20 years.
I know.
Or whatever. So
And were you able to communicate while you were in prison? Did you know she was going to wait for you, or know she was waiting?
I assumed she wasn't going to wait. I assumed she wasn't going to wait for that length of time. And at first, and I was thinking, various scenarios, in that first night, I thought, well, I was going to write to her, and then I thought, she'll be good for maybe a few weeks because the prison was quite near, maybe 6-7 miles, maybe a bit more from where she lived. But then there's dispersal prisons, and you actually get moved. So I was thinking at first, well, Mary will come and visit me at least every week, maybe. But then, if say, for example, I had to go to South Yorkshire or, 200 miles away to South Yorkshire, or even 300 miles to north East Franklin, how long is she going to come for even a month to visit me, a 600-mile round trip? So I realised then very quickly that it ain't going to happen.
Yeah.
It ain't going to happen. So I'd resign myself to the fact that I would have to go alone, more or less go alone, and and at that time that was it, But then Mary came in. I told her the following day, and she left me. There was a glimmer of hope, because I think she said as she was leaving after I told her this devastating news. I think there was a glimmer of hope because she said something like, I says, will you come and visit me again? And she said, be there, or something like that, So I thought, all right, there's a wee bit of hope here. But it was really confounding reality.
Yeah.
It ain't going to happen. In my serious moments, and truthful moments, I was thinking, this ain't going to happen.
Yeah.
So.
And Mary, what was it like? Did you visit often?
Oh, yes. Yeah, well, I took this decision. I suppose I was a bit like suspending reality. On the one hand, I knew I wasn't strong enough to leave him.
Yeah.
When I thought I should, and then when he apologised and said, that he shouldn't have been involved. Really, that was the point where he made the error, was carrying on. He was as a fixer, when we'd started a serious relationship. It wasn't fair on me, you know. But he's got this very sort of happy-go-lucky sort of attitude that everything's going to be all right, and you think he thought he was invisible, and he explained that what he was doing was so infrequent and so minor, really. It might have been important for the actions to take place, but he was only playing this role of arranging IDs and getting accommodation and things like that. So he thought he was invisible. So I could sort of understand where he was coming from, and so therefore I carried on visiting, and and I felt I was keeping him going as well, really.
And was that hope you spoke of, Michael? Mary, you were providing that for him then as well.
Yes,
and I
that's
suppose
right.
that boils back to the love that's endured between you as well. You knew you had to do that for him.
Yes, that's right, yeah. And then, of course, it was only a few weeks until the Good Friday Agreement, when we heard that prisoners would be released. You only had to do 2 years of your sentence, a minimum. And that was just amazing. I mean, it was just like we'd fallen off a cliff and we'd climbed up again. You know, it was incredible, really.
Yeah. And was prison difficult, Michael, for yourself? Obviously being away from Mary, but what, were the conditions like?
The conditions initially were shocking. I mean, I was in the Belmas, the Special Secure Unit in Belmas. And I remember going in at first, and I was waiting to be searched. I was taken from the court, and I saw this notice on the wall, and it said this was a notice to prison officers, search notice, and it was anal interviews cannot be conducted using instruments. So the meaning of that was that there could be anal inspections could be justified by physically using hands or whatever, you know. Yeah. So that was that was the takeaway from that, and that was my first impression, so that was what I held on to that, and there was times when it happened, that there were these what they called squat searches, and it was as much to dehumanise and degrade as being practical. It wasn't practical because if they wanted to find anything on your person, secreted within you. You would get searched from here, maybe from one end of a corridor to the other, and then get searched again at the other end of a corridor, and you would know fine, but they knew fine well there's nothing you could have done in between times. Yeah. When you were being observed the whole time, so things like that. It was these were the tactics that are probably not so well known. There's the beatings and things like that, which I managed to avoid quite well. Okay. I think I got 2 beatings in all the time, in the time I was there, so I managed to avoid that quite well. And also, some of the prisoners, there was Irish prisoners in other parts of the prison, and the prisoners from the 80s, the Irish prisoners from the 80s, had built up a reputation of taking no nonsense as far as bullying. Yeah. So there was people in from that time, and they were able to the reputation they had then kept even when they went back to Ireland, and the reputation still held. So generally, bullying prisoners who were tended to bully would leave Irish prisoners, political prisoners alone, basically, So I felt quite safe in that respect until such times as we got word through following the Good Friday Agreement, it became public knowledge that we were going to get early release. Yeah. And then it became a bit, I was on my own in Long Lartin jail in England, and then I started getting remarks, sideways remarks from right wing, like the English Defence League people, and about you're getting out, how can you get out and we don't get out, all this stuff, little sort of snidey remarks, and it was from people who had previously been quiet and friendly, even,
but
the fact that I was the fact I was on my own, you see, and I think they thought maybe they could make up for lost time, when they they were quite cowed when there was other IRA prisoners about, Yeah. So that was quite that 2 or 3 months when I was waiting to get repatriated, was sticky enough.
And I'm sure, Mary, that was worrying for yourself. We do all hear. I didn't grow up at that time, but you hear the stories, and the reality was that it would have been very difficult, and you're on the outside knowing that this is possibly going on with Michael.
Well, That's another thing. He was quite good at lying on that as well. He was pretending that everything was fine, you know. And I think I was partly taken in by that. It only occurred to me afterwards when he's told me these. Well, obviously we've written about incidences in the prison, you know, that I really realised. But it was a worry because, you know, that it's so easy, isn't it? You see it on the film and everything.
Yeah.
People smuggling in knives and killing people in prison, you know. So it was always a bit of a worry, but he was always telling me he was fine, you know. And I told him to make friends.
Yeah.
And so there's an incident where we had a visit in Longlaat in the Midlands of England, and someone went past, and I said, "Who's that?" And he said, "That's Charlie Cray." Charlie Cray.
Right.
Yeah. And Charlie Cray is a supposed notorious gangster from the East End. And so I said to him, "Well, do all your friends have to be notorious gangsters?" And he said,
"It's in the environment, Mary. If I was in a monastery, all my mates would be monks."
Yeah, I suppose in reality that's what you're going to meet.
It's the environment.
Yeah. And so what was Charlie Cray like?
A nice guy. He was a nice guy, yeah. These two brothers, twin brothers, the Cray twins, were a bit different, yeah.
Yeah.
But he was okay. As far as I could, in the context of being, locked up together.
Yeah,
in a
everybody's
small
in the same
community.
boat.
Yeah, Charlie Cray was okay. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure I could sit and listen here to your stories all day. I'm sure there's so many stories that you haven't even been able to include in the book. But the launch is this Friday, and there's a guest speaker as well, Mary.
Yes, Pierce Doherty. Michael was his election agent for the first election that he stood in. That's so we knew Pierce before he was famous. That's my.
Very good. Well, he's certainly done well, so he has. So we have you to thank for that, Michael, for getting him started. So that is in the Austin Loch Alton in Gortahorg at 7 p.m. this Friday, and guest speaker is Donegal Deputy Pierce Doherty. Thank you both so much for coming in this morning and sharing your story, and I'm sure it will be a great read. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you
Michaela.
very much.
Join me, Marty Free. Listen every Friday night from 8 for Rocket Hits on Highland Radio in association with Arena 7 Letterkenny. Try their new interactive dartboards with lots of games that all the family can play. See arena7.ie.
Do you suffer from high cholesterol, menopause symptoms, digestive issues, anxiety, aches and pains, or a lack of energy? The highly trained team at The Natural Way Letterkenny can provide advice on natural remedies for a number of individual health issues. The Natural Way also has its own brand of herbal treatments to help fight fatigue, relieve digestive discomfort, maintain a healthy immune system, and alleviate common menopause symptoms. The Natural Way at Letterkenny Shopping Centre, your one-stop health shop.
GiveBlood.ie know we can count on you, our community of blood donors, to be there for others in their hour of need. Blood donors from Killybegs should attend the clinic in St Catherine's School on Tuesday, July 1st, and donors from Donegal Town should attend the clinic in the Abbey Hotel on Wednesday 2nd and Thursday 3rd. Making an appointment is recommended, so call 1-800-731-137 or visit our website to book your time. New donors are vital. Visit giveblood.ie to check eligibility and clinic details, because we count on you.
A huge 3-day €1 million stock clearance marquee sale begins this Thursday the 3rd at McGinley's Furniture, Letterkenny. Sofas, beds, mattresses, dining sets, occasional furniture and more, all heavily discounted in store and even further reduced in the clearance marquee, where there's up to 70% off. It's for 3 days only, Thursday, Friday and Saturday from 10 until 6 daily, and it's first come, first served. So don't miss out at McGinley's Furniture, Portling Business Park, Letterkenny.
Step into style at Grant's Shoe Shop Buncrana. Proudly family run since 1926. From Clark's to Skechers, Echo to Bugatti, we've got quality shoes for men, women and kids all under one roof. And guess what? The summer sale is on now. That means sizzling savings on top brands. Pop in today and treat your feet. Only at Grant's Shoe Shop, where tradition meets style. Main Street, Buncrana.
Nippy, fun and chic. don't often describe insurance, but they perfectly fit the electric Fiat 500 you have the opportunity to win if you get a new car policy from On Post Insurance. For great cover at a great price and a shot at the Fiat 500, get a quote at onpostinsurance.ie. Acceptance criteria, terms and conditions apply and are available at onpostinsurance.ie/promotions. Competition ends December 31st, 2025. One Direct Ireland Limited trading as On Post Insurance is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. One Direct Ireland Limited is a wholly owned subsidiary of On Post.
Welcome back to the 9 till noon show. Looking to a few of your comments now in relation to the dumping of rubbish. A neighbour dumped rubbish in my field years ago and I confronted them. I went to the council and reported it. The councilman went to the dumpers and told them not to do it again. The council never even asked him to lift it. I was told to lift it myself. I ended up with a riff with my neighbours and the council did nothing. This is why these things aren't reported. The council don't do their jobs. Listening this morning, the issue of dumping from motorhomes and campers sounds exactly like the issues on the NC 500 in Scotland. Promotion is all well and good, but facilities and road infrastructure is key. The Aberdeen coast, which is less promoted but has far superior and welcoming facilities. The people promoting the Wind Atlantic Way need to look ahead, step up, add disposal facilities and park up areas for these motorhomes or tourists. There is opportunity here for local businesses too if there was support available. Micheál Colm is opposed to tourism, yet it is the biggest employer in Donegal. Hotels are full of refugees, so where are tourists to stay if not in B&Bs or Airbnbs, many of which are the sole income of local people? He can't have it both ways. I think the issue is there that he believes it is locking other people out of the housing market then as a result if properties are being bought for Airbnb and B&B purposes. Another listener says the cancer isn't in check with reality. If someone is camping with a dog and a couple of kids, where does he expect the feces to be kept? Not everyone has a 100k camper with a big boot. Shall he expect people to keep feces in a small van or car for people on a summer trip for a week? Why are there no basic facilities like bins easily available? The civic amenity centres are not convenient. The traffic on the Ramelton Road, this listener says, out by Arena 7 is terrible this morning. Traffic is queued back as far as Tara Court on the Ramelton Road. It's been like this since 9 a.m. this morning. Dr. O'Connor and the other doctors have done so much for the hospital by highlighting this issue and arranging meeting with the minister. They are the people who know what they're talking about much better than listening to politicians who are turning it into political scoring. We need all to say a big thank you to these doctors for showing how much they care for their patients. The politicians are so disingenuous. They all know the minister will make her announcement about the hub going to Sligo when the Dáil is on holiday and people have nowhere to protest and no one's listening to the people in Donegal. Now, as part of our Wellness Wednesday this week, we're speaking to Naomi Fisher, who joins me in studio now. Good morning to you, Naomi.
Good morning, Michaela. Thank you so much for having me.
Not at all. So, Naomi, your son Reese passed away from meningitis 30 years ago, and you've organised now an annual Teddy Bears picnic for meningitis awareness in his memory. So, talk to me a little, or as much as you want to, why you've set this up and in relation to the fundraiser.
Yeah, so this Saturday I want to honour my son Reese, who would have turned 30 this year, by organising a fundraising event supporting Act for Meningitis, raising awareness around the signs and symptoms of meningitis for all parents. I lost Reese when he was 7.5 months old, so he would have been 30 this year, and each year I do like a walk in the park, some kind of fundraising, raising awareness, but this year's a wee bit more special. He would have been 30, so just to honour that.
Yeah,
we're doing a
momentous birthday, yeah.
Teddy Bears picnic in the park on Saturday. Now, weather permitting, it's not looking so good at the minute. So the vestry have kindly offered the hall as a donation, which huge thanks to them. If the weather is bad and we're not in the park, we'll be in the vestry. So it's some colouring stations, some face painting, so lots of fun on the day, sweet treats. And
it's an amazing initiative to highlight meningitis, because it is one of those illnesses that sometimes it's too late by the time you detect it. So it's keeping it in people's minds that this is an illness that people can contract all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a deadly disease, and you know you have to be the voice for your child, because With Reese, he was only 7.5 months old, and he couldn't tell me, you know. So I just want to make parents aware of those signs and symptoms that's there.
And I suppose it's a support group as well for parents in the same situation as yourself.
The Act for Meningitis.
The gatherings as well.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And I mean, I would hope on Saturday that if there is anybody that has been affected by this disease, that come along, the charity will be there on Saturday as well. Siobhan herself, and you can talk it through. She provides, and Siobhan will talk it through now with you, but she provides amazing support services. She'll be there, as I say, on Saturday to help with that.
Yeah. We do have Siobhan Carroll on the line. Good morning, Siobhan.
Morning, Michaela. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. So, Siobhan, you're the CEO of Act for Meningitis, and you sadly lost your daughter, Ava, to meningitis. So, talk to us a little bit more about this Act for Meningitis.
Hi, how are you? Yeah, so in April 2008, I suppose our lives changed forever. I was heavily pregnant with a baby, and I was kept in the hospital for the night, and Ava was at home with her dad, Noel, and with Evan, who was 2 at the time. And I said goodnight to both of them at 9 o'clock, that I loved them both, and said goodnight. And a few hours later, Noel rang me to say Ava was kind of sick, and she had vomited and diarrhea, and that he'd rang the out of hours service, and they said to check on her to make sure there was no rash, and did the light bother her? And he said no, none of that. So they said there's a bug going around, so keep an eye on her. So a few hours later, he rang again and said Ava's really sick, the ambulance is on the way. And I couldn't understand what he was talking about, how we had just been talking. I'd just been talking to her a few hours earlier. So I ran down to the front door of the hospital in Galway, and as the ambulance pulled up, I remember it was pitch dark, and I remember saying to myself, God, someone's really sick, that ambulance is in a major hurry. And as I stood there, the ambulance pulled up, and it was Noel, and he jumped out, and he said, it's not good, Siobhan. And they ran past us and tried to bring Ava back, but Ava had actually passed away from meningitis within 6 hours of being sick.
Yeah. It's the rapidness of it. I remember when I was at school, I think I was maybe 16, and sadly there was a girl in my class. She had passed away from meningitis as well. But it was that, you know, people think maybe they've contracted a flu. It's the symptoms of it, and then, you know, it's the how quick it can take someone's life then. And I think that is such a devastating impact on family and friends and people who know those people who'd lost their lives as well.
And you know, with us, you know, Noel had known there wasn't something right, and he had rang the out of hours service, and you know, so he had checked. He was a really good dad. He made sure everything was okay. And what had happened at home was that he had given her Nurofen, Calpol, kept an eye on her. She only had a slight temperature, and she had asked Noel where I was, you know, when she was sick, because we were always there together. We decided to have our kids and rear them together and stuff. And she was lying in his arms watching television, and he looked down, and he actually thought that you know, it was a reflection of the telly, because her skin started changing colour, but actually it was her. And she just closed her eyes and passed away in his arms within 6 hours of having the first symptoms. And when you talk about impact and how losing someone to meningitis, it just changes your life forever, you know. And I had Noah 4 weeks after Ava passed, and then Sophie came the year after. And then, you know, people say the hardest thing is, you know, losing them, but actually the hardest part is picking yourself up and trying to live your life without them in it.
And especially with that newborn baby, that must have been incredibly difficult, Siobhan.
Michaela, being totally honest with you, it's a blur. I don't remember an awful lot. I don't remember a lot of the first few years after Ava passed, because I was up doing night feeds and, you know, trying to get up and make life as normal as possible for Evan every day. And the impact on him, I remember him saying to me, Mom, can we get a ladder and go up to heaven and bring Ava back? Because that was his best friend. And when you talk about impact and how it can affect families and stuff, siblings who are after losing, you know, the closest person to them in their lives, as well as their parents trying to get on with their lives, and it's a really tough journey. And like, we're only one family no more than Naomi having to pick herself up after she lost Reese, and try and get through every day without the minute is so challenging,
And Siobhan, you have been working and you've been involved with the WHO as it relates to creating a national plan to defeat meningitis.
Yeah. So I'll go back. We're the only meningitis support and awareness charity in Ireland. So there's only us in the whole country. So we are working to create awareness, to make every single person aware, to know about meningitis, the signs and symptoms, what to look out for, trust your instincts if you suspect meningitis. Key messages that people need to know, ensuring that their vaccines are up to date with their children and going to college and all that kind of stuff. All our services are free. So in the last few years, there's been a significant increase in cases globally of meningitis. So the World Health Organization have come up with this global roadmap to defeat meningitis by 2030. The plan is that they put these kind of 5 guidelines in place, and then they're asking people to implement these guidelines to make sure there's a national plan in place to defeat meningitis, to ensure vaccines are up to date, and to ensure there's aftercare plans and support in place in different countries. So I was asked to join the strategy support group representing Ireland, so the only Irish person there. So I was very honoured last April to speak in Paris at the launch. They invited me over to speak, and I was able to talk about Ireland and the work the charity's doing. So my plan now going forward is to implement these kind of guidelines and try and get them into Ireland, that our HSC and our GPs, they follow these kind of guidelines to try, so there's earlier detection of meningitis, and for people to be aware that we're there to support them no matter how they've been impacted and what length of time they've been impacted. So that's the kind of work we're doing at the moment, as well as our charity work.
And Naomi, yourself as the ambassador for meningitis in Donegal with the Act for Meningitis charity, how important do you see this work, and how do you think this should be implemented in a timely manner?
Well, working along with Siobhan, and I think it's really important to keep doing these awareness. Like, I'm using this platform on Saturday just to honour my son, but I regularly do awareness, raising awareness, letting parents know, as I said, you need to be a voice for your child, recognise these symptoms, understand the challenges that there is and what to look out for. So as we do more awareness around it, and last year I actually, with my work in TCS, we put out the little awareness cards and sent them out through all the creches. So 2,000 cards went out all across Donegal, home with all the little children from the creches. So they're hopefully on a fridge. So if someone's fearful of their child or looking at symptoms, they can just relate to that wee card, look at the card, look at the symptoms, and make that call.
Yeah, and you can never be too cautious. So no matter what the symptom is, just check. As you say,
always check.
It's there for them in that card. And I think it's important too that a lot of people associate meningitis with children, but it can happen to young adults as well.
Absolutely, adults and older, and especially too now with, coming back into college again in September and everybody coming together. They're thinking, I'm sure there's nights out and hangovers and one thing and another. It's just to, for students to look out for each other as well. And, there's no harm in them. And Siobhan does an amazing job of getting those cards widely spread across colleges. And we're putting them in the chemists and, keep the wee card on, stop and think and look.
Yeah, because I remember myself whenever it was our first year in college, and we did get them. It was like the wee cards that expand to the like A4 size of paper. But, we were so conscious of it all the time, and we kept it, I think, in our cutlery drawer. And, it was always there and always reminded us just, if there was any symptoms, just to make sure that we were all okay. Siobhan, how can people find out more details on the Act for Meningitis charity?
So we're across all social media platforms, so they can check out our page, our Facebook page, Act for Meningitis. We're on Instagram, and we're also on Twitter. And there's another thing as well, Michaela, that young people need to be aware of. We work with the organisation that do awareness and stuff in all the colleges. So there's an app available for students to download. It's called Student Health Matters. And on that app, it's really important. If people are going off traveling for the summer, young people are going traveling, and if you download that app, you have the signs and symptoms of meningitis instantly at your fingertips, which is really, really important for students, especially when they're away from home. They've no one to talk to, they don't have support. And our campaign, as Naomi said, is mind your friends. So keep an eye on each other, check each other out. The most important thing that people need to know when it comes to meningitis is that someone with meningitis gradually over hours will get sicker. So if someone's not getting better, you need to check on them, and to be totally aware that meningitis does not always produce a rash.
Yeah.
So if someone's really sick and they're getting sicker over hours, don't wait for a rash to appear. With meningitis, it may never appear. And if it does appear, you're at a really, really late stage and you need to get urgent medical attention. And that's like ringing an ambulance or, urgent medical attention if a rash does appear. But remember, it may never appear, which is really, really important because there's a lot of confusion around that. So that's really important, that with someone getting sicker over hours, that, somebody does act. And going to a hospital, going to a doctor and saying to them, could this be meningitis? Put the word into the doctor or the nurse's mind and let them rule it out. So if anybody wants to message the page or ring the charity on 091 380058, we have awareness cards that we can post out to anyone, anywhere, and they're all free. Or they want to message any of our social media pages, and we get the awareness cards out to them. Pharmacies, doctor surgeries, creches, people having just one card at home, have it in your purse and just have it there, to check, because these awareness cards have saved lives. People have rang me and said, I read a social media post, I knew my daughter or son wasn't well, we went to the hospital, it was meningitis. So being aware of meningitis is so, so important. So we're there, and if anybody has been affected by meningitis, I maybe just want to talk to someone who understands what they've been through, we're there to give them support, and all our support services are free, and we're there for as long as people need us.
Yeah, and that's very important too. Siobhan Carroll, CEO of Act for Meningitis and a member of the WHO Strategy Support Group to Defeat Meningitis. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. And Naomi, do you want to just give us a reminder of the teddy bear picnic for Reese's 30th birthday?
Yeah, so it's this Saturday from 12 to 3 p.m, hopefully in the Letterkenny Park, weather permitting. If not, we'll find us in the vestry. So please help us to help others by donating. No matter how small, it will make a huge difference. Yeah. And just a huge thank you to my friends and family who always support me through everything that I do, and to everyone that has generously given to the I Donate page up to now. There's over €1,000 in there. Amazing. Now at the moment. And a big shout out to Simpsons and Letterkenny and Little and Letterkenny, who have supplied some lovely treats for the kids on Saturday. So please come and join me and my family.
It's amazing just the work you're doing. It's for yourself to, I suppose mark Reese's birthday, but it's doing so much good for other people then. Absolutely.
Just to bring that awareness, I would hate to think that anybody would go through what myself and my family have gone through. So if it can help in any way, shape or form, I'm happy to do so.
Naomi, thank you so much for joining me this morning, and I hope the weather stays dry for you on Saturday. Thank you so much.
Michaela. Crawley Distillery Visitors Experience is celebrating its 3rd birthday on Friday the 4th of July, and you're invited. Join the crack at 3 p.m. for a special toast and your chance to win a bottle your own experience. Plus, enjoy 50% off tours on the day only with code 3years online at thecrawleydistillery.com. Enjoy entertainment, special offers and a warm voucher for all. Crawley Distillery. Experience the spirit of Donegal.
Miguel Asb presents Concert with the Greats on Sunday, July 13th at 3:30 p.m. in Brooklands, starring Alton, Ryan Kennedy, Mike Denver, Brendan Shine and the Showband Show. Tickets are limited. Call 085 88 19 101 now.
Brian McCormick Sports. Summer sale is now on. Click on bmcsports.ie. Up to 50% off Brooks, Asics and Hoka footwear. In-store and online. Women's Adidas clothing. Save 30% on tops, tees and matching bottoms. Adidas and Puma football boots clearing up to 50% off. Summer sale now at Brian McCormick Sports, Main Street, Letterkenny. Or click on bmcsports.ie for next day delivery.
Plan something new at the start of the year? Well, who hasn't? Now's your second chance with the 252 registrations at iMotors. Take the wheel of the iconic Qashqai, the bold X-Trail, the sporty Juke, or go electric with the stunning Nissan Ariya. They're here and they're waiting for you. Visit imotors.ie today.
iMotors, fearless generation.
Since I switched to Hidden Hearing, I can hear it all. You could save up to €3,000 off invisible hearing aids. Save when you switch to us, upgrade, or save on your very first hearing aids. Pre-phone 1-800-370-000. Switch and save at hiddenhearing.ie. You should go to the hearing experts. T's and C's apply.
Travelling to Dublin for business? Donegal Airport's same-day return makes it easy. Fly out at 7:55 a.m. and return at 6:50 p.m. Great fares and low-cost parking. Save time and book now at aerlingus.com. Terms and conditions apply.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is...
The time is 11:38 and it's time for Business Matters with Chris Ashmore. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Michaela.
I was just saying I look forward to seeing you whenever I'm on.
Oh, likewise, likewise.
So we're going to chat a little bit about Lidl Ireland is marking 25 years in Ireland. That's amazing.
Indeed, yeah, how time flies. And certainly they, along with Aldi, have had a big impact on the retail grocery sector. Here in Donegal, Lidl now employ 180 people, so that's pretty significant. They've 9 stores around the county. Nationally, they employ more than 5,500 people. And in terms of their market share, they now have almost 14% of the Irish grocery market. And they say that they have 1.5 million shoppers through their doors every week. It's a lot of people.
Yeah, every week.
Yeah, every week. So they've done research to coincide with the 25 years. And of course, they, like the other big multiples, looking to use Irish produce, which not only can get an outlet here in Ireland, but some of the producers will find that they're now supplying stores outside of Ireland. And Lidl, just in County Donegal, it's estimated that last year they procured over €40 million worth of goods and services from 25 suppliers and businesses across the county.
Yeah.
So,
that's really good. I think that's a great, we all give off about multinationals coming in, but they have the resources to support local businesses, which I think is great.
And indeed, they sign up with businesses. Now, the margins might be quite tight, but it's a guaranteed market and the volume is there. And for a lot of producers, it's hugely significant for their business. And they're continuing to expand. They are planning to spend around 600 million over the next 5 years, 35 new stores, and they're building a €200 million regional distribution centre down in Cork. So that just gives a scale of the size of these companies.
And who doesn't love a middle aisle find?
Yeah, well, listen, you go in on a Thursday or a Monday and you go in for a hammer and come out with a paddle pool.
Yeah, but you don't be thinking you need an item and then you see it and you're like, I definitely need that. I suppose that's their mark.
Great marketing, yeah. And the way the shop is laid out, and you have to pass so many things to get.
Works perfectly.
So of course your essentials are like your bread and milk are always right down at the back, so you have to pass everything to get to them. So all very clever.
Yeah, you've been having a look also at new car sales figures.
Yeah, well, the first 6 months are up, so that means no more 251 DL plates. We're now going to look for 252 DL plates. So June is a quiet month because a certain amount of people will hold back to get the new plate. Nationally, the new car registrations were up 3.5% compared with June of last year. In Donegal, it was 3.84%, so just above the national average. And the number of new electric car registrations in the first 6 months of this year in Donegal were up 45% compared with last year, coming from a relatively low level, but nevertheless 193 new electric cars registered in the county this year. And interestingly, just 31 new cars were registered in Donegal in June. But interestingly, Suzuki, who have brought out a 10-year warranty and interest-free loans, well, they led the way. They had 10 of the 31 new cars sold. So that's certainly having an impact on the figures. A 10-year warranty. It'll be interesting to see if other companies follow.
Yeah.
The main caveat there is you have to have it serviced with the Suzuki dealer throughout that time. But nevertheless, it's an eye-catching
but that's a good
match.
guarantee because, you know, a lot of people would change their cars after, say, 4 or 5 years, whatever. But, you know, having it for 10 years, surely it would pay off if you were getting a service with the garage.
It's very appealing. Now, there is a limit. I think it's 160,000 kilometres.
Oh, okay.
But that's 16,000 a year, which would be typical
Average.
enough for a lot of people. So, you know, there was a time car manufacturers only offered 1 year warranty. Then it went to 3. Most now are 3 or 5 is pretty common.
That's if you can afford to buy the brand new
That's
car
it.
in the first
And,
instance.
just mentioning the most popular selling brand of car in Donegal for the first 6 months of 2025 was Kia. Toyota were second, Skoda third, Hyundai fourth, Volkswagen fifth, and then making up the rest of the top 10, Suzuki, Ford, Peugeot, Dacia, and then Nissan.
Good, reliable brands. And the end of an era as the last coal-burning power station in Ireland ceases.
Yes, on the 19th of June, the ESB confirmed that the Moneypoint power generating plant, which is down in County Clare, it's the largest electricity generating station on the island of Ireland, but coal-fired electricity generation has come to an end, which is significant. Obviously, with the increase in renewables, wind made up 32.4% of our electricity production in June. So that continuation away from fossil fuels continues. Now, that said, the Moneypoint plant, it's going to be on standby. It's been converted to use oil, and it's going to be, according to AirGrid, they're calling it's a backup out-of-market generator of last resort. So basically what that means is if we know there's big demands with all the data centres on the electricity network, so if the network is under pressure, they can kick it on and they can generate extra power if needed, but it'll be coming from oil, not from coal, which is not as polluting. So it's a significant development in the whole history of electricity generation in this country.
Yeah. And Chris, looking towards now, your Business Matters programme this week, who have you got coming up?
Yes, speaking to West Donegal man Charlie Boyle, who is the CEO of Customer Service Excellence Ireland. Now, his company is based in the GTech Innovation Hub in Gweedore. He set it up back in 2014. The company has developed, building up clients not just in Ireland, but notably in the Middle East. And he concentrates on really just showing businesses how the importance of customer service and how you can develop it, and obviously you get the return on that investment by developing the skills and the whole customer experience. He mentions, he was talking to me, you could be going to a shopping centre. He's done a lot of work with shopping centres, so it's right from the moment you come into the car park. It's sort of the entrance, the ambience. There's lots of things that when you actually delve into it, there's a lot more there than
So
you
he
would think
deals
about.
with a wide range of businesses.
A wide range of businesses and companies in Ireland, in Britain, in the Middle East. He's been out there as well. And he says that people from Donegal are particularly good when it comes to the whole area of customer service and excellence, and this is something he has really honed in on, and we've a clip here in which he tells us a little bit more about this.
That's been something we're trying to pursue. I suppose we're trying to get more and more funding, trying to tap into research funds that are available, because my belief is that I think there's a strong argument that Donegal could nearly own this, and what I mean by that is that customer service, that sales ability, that ability to have a high level of human skills involved in, your offer and your, the best practice examples. And I know I'm being totally and absolutely biased from here, but I would hear people saying outside of the county that they would employ Donegal people on a scale of 2 or 3 to 1 because they have that sort of natural, I suppose we would say in Donegal, away with them. But really, when it's research and you ask the academics about it, they'll say yes, that warmth, that welcome, that connection, that empathy, that emotional intelligence is as important today as it ever was, even in a digitally disrupted world.
So people right across the world have Donegal folk to thank then for their good customer service?
Absolutely. And he's a very busy man. When I was speaking to him, he'd just come off the Dublin to Donegal airport flight. He'd been up in Dublin. His company are involved in developing a customer experience programme at the iconic Book of Kells at Trinity College. Now, it gets around 1 million visitors a year, so it's all about enhancing that customer experience. So it's significant. And I spoke to him also about, when companies are looking at, be it advertising or marketing or customer service, how much money do you set aside for that? Because sometimes it's difficult to get to get an accurate sort of feedback on the actual return that you're getting. But we've another clip here, and he speaks about the research suggesting a certain percentage that you should be putting into the whole area of customer service.
That for customer service, that a company should be investing 5% of their turnover, not their profit, 5% of their turnover back into training for the whole area of customer service or the customer experience. Now, the customer experience is much wider and, it's broader than customer service. Customer service tends to be the connection between two humans. The customer experience is the overall customer experience of, parking your car outside, going into the restaurant itself, coming out of the restaurant, or, the purchasing of a car. It could be 3 or 4 visits to the car dealership. It could be, the human interaction. It could be how quick you got the price. What was your expectation of the car being delivered? The time of that, how was that communicated?
And it all makes sense, actually, Chris. But I suppose, it's that help the business owners need. They're juggling so many, issues and so many.
And they could be
turn.
blind to some of the things, and he has the expertise and can point out a lot of little things. You add them all together, and you can certainly enhance the package. And he's constantly researching things, very aware of how AI is changing matters, and that was part of the reason why he's just published a book as well called The Future is Human, which has as its subtitle Unlocking the Skills That Will Define Success in an Evolving World, and making the point that yes, AI is great, but that it's that human touch and those human things that, and he uses examples of things that he's seen here in Donegal and people that he's met over the years, and never lose that human touch.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm actually doing a course about AI, and that's what it says. That's what they were saying, that AI is your assistant, but you need that human as well to decipher the information and to, you need to train it to work for you as well.
Absolutely. So maybe there's a career in customer service for you as well.
Yeah, I think I'd enjoy that, actually. So remind us, Chris, where people can listen to Business Matters this week.
Yes, it's on Sunday on the radio after the 6 o'clock news, and the podcast just going out now as well. So you can listen to it by going into the Highland Radio website, and the podcast is there with all the previous editions of Business Matters as well.
Great. We'll be back after this break.
Why leave the magic moments and great scenes you've captured sitting on your phone when you can have them printed at McGee's Chemist? Using McGee's website or one of their in-store kiosks, you just upload your photos, select the ones you want, and have them printed instantly within an hour, or use the 24-hour service. 35mm and film from disposable cameras also printed, and old photos can be digitally restored. Hold your memories in your hand with McGee's Chemist, Letterkenny.
Join us at Austin Alton Gortahork this and every Friday night for Donegal's best night of music and dance with one of Ireland's finest singer-songwriters and entertainers, Shanique Ramsey, on stage from 10 p.m. Admission is free and there's complimentary refreshments on the night. Don't miss it. Shanique Ramsey every Friday night all summer long at Austin Alton Gortahork.
Is your little one starting big school this September? At Dunnes Stores, we've got you covered for those memorable milestones. From waving goodbye at the gate to snapping that first proud photo in their new uniform. Feel confident as they take their next big step with quality schoolwear. Pick up a 3-pack of Playproof polos from €5. Pair these with Easy Care joggers also from €5, plus a comfy sweatshirt from €3.75. Shop back to school in-store and online now. Dunnes Stores. Always better value. Terms and conditions apply.
It's been 10 years of the best. You'll never guess what. Texts. 10 years of I wish you were here. Video calls. 10 years of businesses shouting, we got our first sale. And for 10 years in a row now, Vodafone have won Ireland's best mobile network, helping you stay connected to what matters most. Vodafone. Together, we can. Certified by Umlaut. See Vodafone.ie for terms.
Here at Braden's House to Home Interiors, Moville and Bridgend, we stock recliner and fabric suites, dining tables and chairs, beds and mattresses, curtains and rugs, and don't forget our large flooring department stocking carpet, vinyl and laminate flooring. We can't be beaten on price or quality and give a weekly delivery service to Donegal, Derry and Strabane, not to be matched. So call in today to Braden's House to Home Interiors, Moville or Bridgend for all your home furnishing needs.
Join David James and his band this Friday night, 4th of July in the Melon Country in Omagh. Doors open 9 p.m, band on stage 10 p.m. That's David James in the Melon Country this Friday.
McCullough Jewellers in Letterkenny are synonymous with fine jewellery, quality watches and giftware. With stores at Main Street, Letterkenny and the Letterkenny Shopping Centre or online at ormccullough.com. You can choose from their quality product range in a relaxed atmosphere, and their sales staff will be happy to help you make the right choice whatever the occasion. McCullough Jewellers, making moments magical for generations.
A huge 3-day €1 million stock clearance marquee sale begins this Thursday the 3rd at McGinley's Furniture, Letterkenny. Sofas, beds, mattresses, dining sets, occasional furniture and more, all heavily discounted in store and even further reduced in the clearance marquee where there's up to 70% off. It's for 3 days only, Thursday, Friday and Saturday from 10 until 6 daily, and it's first come, first served. So don't miss out at McGinley's Furniture, Portling Business Park, Letterkenny.
This July 18th and 19th, Gweedore comes alive with Salt Music Festival 2025. On Saturday 19th, experience The Stunning, the Sharon Shannon Big Band with Garn Noon, the Luke Combs Experience and many more. For more information and tickets, go to saltfela.ie. Salt Music Festival 2025. 2 days, one place, great music.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenny's. Find all your summer essentials from fashion and accessories to beauty and homeware at McElhenny's. Explore more in-store or shop online at mcelhennys.com today.
Today's weather, it will bring a mix of sunshine and scattered showers for a time, some of which will be heavy with the chance of a few scattered thunderstorms, highest temperatures of 14 to 17 degrees. And some sad news just in. The founder of the Capuchin Day Centre in Dublin, Brother Kevin Crowley, has died at the age of 90. The announcement of his death in the wonderful care of Mount Desert Nursing Home in Cork this morning was made in the Capuchin Franciscans website. Brother Kevin founded the Capuchin Day Centre on Bow Street in Dublin in 1969. The day centre provided hot meals, food parcels, clothing and daycare facilities for people who are homeless and in need. Interesting that in August 2018, Pope Francis visited the centre during his visit to Ireland. Brother Kevin told the Pope that from humble beginnings of providing 50 meals a day, it was providing over 800 meals by 2018. And there will be a tribute to Father Kevin Crowley on the show tomorrow morning. Just a couple of your comments to finish up. Regarding the camper vans, they do not leave any rubbish. It's people in tents that leave stuff behind them on the very odd occasion. There are camper vans in Carrickfinn and they are doing no harm. We were having that discussion earlier, and we're saying that it is the small minority that are causing this, Councillor Miguel Asb was saying it's a total disrespect to the local community, and that's so true. People just dump in the rubbish. They have complete disregard for anybody else and the environment. A listener was in touch to say, Rathmullen, what a beautiful buzzing place, but toilets are a mess. Bins absolutely filled to capacity and beyond. Could you get a reply from Donegal County Council on the situation? Well, the council have got back and they said, due to the spell of good weather, Donegal welcomed a large influx of visitors to the county and in particular to our beaches. The cause and extent of the reported build-up of refuge and poor condition of the toilets will be investigated with a view to identifying any remedial measures required going forward. The council will work within the resources available along with the public support to ensure it does not happen again. Improvement works are planned for the toilet facilities at Rathmullen, with the work already scheduled to commence next week. Well, that's where we have to leave it on the 9 till noon show this morning. Thanks as always to Caroline Orr and Shannon Wilkin, and Greg will be back with you tomorrow from 9. Coming up next is John Breslin on Around the Northwest.
Would you like to experience the magic of